Am I the asshole for leaving my boyfriend for no reason, quote unquote? I, 26 female, have been with my now ex-boyfriend Eric, 28 male, for 2 years. Overall, we've had a good relationship. Nothing crazy, until last night when things completely fell apart. We were out at a bar with some of his friends, just having a normal night. Drinks, food, the usual. Eric and his friend Mark, 28 male, were joking around, and Eric made a comment about how much Mark was eating. Something like, "Careful, Mark, you'll eat the whole damn bar." It seemed harmless at first, just typical guy humor. But then Mark looked right at me and said, "If only she knew." It was one of those moments where you instantly feel uncomfortable, like there's something going on behind your back. I have no idea what Mark was talking about, and the whole vibe at the table shifted. But before I could even react, Eric exploded. He went off on Mark, screaming at him to shut the hell up, and even tried to get physical. His other friends had to hold him back. Mark didn't really react, which only made Eric angrier. The whole thing was awkward as hell, and we ended up leaving early. When we got back to my place, I couldn't stop thinking about that comment. So I asked Eric, what the hell did Mark mean by, "if only she knew"? What don't I know? And instead of just answering me like a normal person, Eric lost it again. He started yelling at me, telling me to drop it and stop being paranoid. He was dodging every question, getting more pissed every time I brought it up. I wasn't trying to pick a fight, I just wanted to know what was going on. It felt like there was something important being hidden from me, and I wasn't about to just let it slide. But every time I asked, he'd just get more defensive and angry. Finally, he stormed out of my apartment. He doesn't live with me, so I locked the door and called it a night. I didn't hear from him until this morning, and when I did, it was just more angry texts telling me to drop it and leave him alone. At that point, I was done. I'm not going to sit around and be treated like I'm crazy for asking a simple question. I texted him back saying that we're done, I need space, and if he can't be honest with me, then I don't want any part of this relationship. End of story. Now, here is where it gets worse. He's been going around to our mutual friends, telling them that I left him for no reason, and trying to make it seem like I'm the one who overreacted. Some of them have even reached out to me, saying that I should have just let it go, and that I'm blowing things out of proportion. I told them to mind their own effing business. I don't care what they think, none of them were in that moment, none of them saw how he acted, and none of them have to live with a pit in their stomach that I've had since that weird-ass comment from Mark. I'm not about to stay in a relationship where I feel like something shady is going on behind my back. If Eric can't be straight with me after 2 years together, then what's the point? So Reddit, am I the asshole for leaving him over this? Asterisk says, quote, "I told them to mind their own effing business. You have no idea how much I've yearned for a post where someone acts like a grounded human being and says this to the peanut gallery. Yeah, when someone goes off like a bomb, refuses to account for themselves, and just expects you to be fine with that, they're trapping themselves in several layers of red flags. Either it's something very bad, or he's unstable. For drama reasons, I hope you reach out to Mark though." OP replies, "Yes. Like when they came to me, the only thing that I thought was, who the hell do you think you are? Especially none of them being on my side, they are all mad at me because I used aggressive language." Fancy Average says, "I just want to applaud you and ponder, why don't more people respond this way to friends and family who get out of pocket? It's like post after post of, my partner treated me like shit on their shoe, but now everybody's texting me saying that I should just let it go to keep the peace, or worse, family thinks I should forgive my sister for sleeping with my husband and secretly adopting my children behind my back because family stands by family. It just kills me that so many people are so averse to conflict that they think it's fine to say F you to a wronged loved one just to avoid drama. I like to avoid drama too, so I stay the hell out of shit that doesn't concern me. Damn. Anyway, OP is so not the asshole, and her reaction of "I don't need this bullshit, bye" should be a lesson to us all. OP replies, "Don't let anyone make you feel like shit. When they texted me trying to question me, I just thought, who the hell even are you? Like, yeah, I'm your friend, but like, why do you think you have control over me?" Soldrake says, "Not the asshole. But also, I think the situation didn't ask for a neurosurgeon to figure out. Based on the comment, it seems pretty obvious that Eric used to, or may still be fat, and is obviously a sensitive point for him. Potentially, he was even bullied by Mark for it, which is why he reacted extremely angrily and hot-headed on the matter. I think the context made it pretty clear that something along those lines was going on. That doesn't excuse him snapping at you, but you should get better at reading your partner's behavior, because I am a goddamn guy, and not the emotional type either, but unless you aren't the sharpest tool in the shed, these are the obvious first things that come to mind. OP replies, "Thanks for your perspective. I get what you're saying about Eric possibly having a history with body image or being bullied, which might explain his reaction, but my point is that even if he has personal issues, it doesn't give him a free pass to lash out at me. I understand that men can have a tough time expressing their feelings, but relationships require open communication from both sides. I wasn't trying to poke at any insecurities. I genuinely wanted to know what was going on. When I asked him about Mark's comment, I expected a conversation, not an explosion of anger. It's not about being the sharpest tool in the shed, but rather about being in a relationship where both partners can talk openly without fear of being yelled at or dismissed. I've always tried to support him, and I want a partner who can communicate with me, especially when things get awkward. I appreciate your insight." And I feel like that should be a baseline for a relationship, but the fact that there's so many people pushing back makes me question where the bar is, actually. Can anyone please help me identify what Soldrake was trying to say by "you should get better at reading your partner's behavior"? Because what I read from it is that he had an extreme reaction that he's never shown before to his friend, and then he had an extreme reaction at OP when she questioned it. Sure, in the heat of the moment when someone's pissed off and losing their shit, you can give it a pass and be like, okay, I'm gonna let you calm down because you're acting like an absolute psychopath right now. But the fact that he started projecting his insecurities back on OP saying, oh, you're just being paranoid. I'm gonna dodge every question. I'm gonna get even more angry now that my behavior is a red flag to you. What's wrong with you, OP? I think it's good that he left to go calm down and chill out. But I agree with OP. I don't think it's wrong to question what was wrong in that situation. He should have communicated. He should have been more transparent with her. But what can you do? Some people just act irrationally when their ego gets hurt. He then goes and spreads lies to the rest of her friends. What a cool guy. What a normal guy. What a cool relationship you two had. It's hard to wrap my head around this one as well because it's like, it's mutual friends, so they should share trust with both OP and with the partner. But with the bullshit story he spun, they all sided with him and then attacked her without asking for her side of the events and be like, wow, he's brought up something really inflammatory, something really crazy. I would like to know your side because is he being insane or did something insane actually happen? We don't know your side of the story, but you're definitely the one that overreacted here, OP. Like, what is that logic? What is wrong with these people? Also, in situations like this, when our partner is acting insane, are we supposed to just not question it in the moment until they calm down? Are we not close enough to them to be like, hey, I know you're angry, can you explain why you're so angry and heated over this, and can you please just chill out? Is that asking too much? Okay, I'm gonna go to the update, but gigantic trigger warning. If you're eating food, skip to the next story. I swear to God, if you're eating anything or you have a squeamish stomach, you do not want to read this update. I was not prepared for what I read here. Jesus Christ. This is like the couch story levels of messed up. Update. I feel like I'm living in some kind of twisted nightmare, and the more I try to make sense of it, the worse it gets. Mark called me today while I was at work. I didn't expect him to call me because he was ignoring me. I stepped outside to take the call, and he told me something that I never in a million years could have prepared for. He told me that Eric had been putting other men's semen into my food, drinks, skincare, shampoo, conditioner, and even my toothpaste. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being dramatic. That's what Mark said. Eric has apparently been hooking up with random men, having them finish into cups, and then using it in my meals and drinks like it's some kind of sick joke. Even as I write this, I'm still in complete disbelief. Who does that to someone? I want to die. Mark said he found out about this a week ago, but for some reason, it took him that long to tell me. A week. I've been living my life completely oblivious, trusting Eric, someone I loved, while this has been happening behind my back. I feel so betrayed, so disgusted, and so violated. When I asked Mark if he and Eric were having an affair, or if this was some sort of twisted thing between them, he swore they weren't, and he even made a gross comment about not wanting to touch Eric because who knows what diseases he has. That made my stomach turn. I'm getting tested for everything now because I don't know what's been in my body. When I got home, I went straight to the kitchen. Mark told me to check under the sink, and there they were. The cups. Hidden behind the cleaning supplies. I lost my shit. I threw out everything in the kitchen and bathroom, even stuff I knew wasn't touched. I don't care. Everything feels contaminated now. My home doesn't feel like a safe space anymore. Every time I walk into the kitchen, I feel like I'm going to throw up. I can't even function without my mind going to dark places, thinking about all the times that I had no idea what was happening. I don't have any solid proof of this. It's just Mark's word and those disgusting cups, and I feel so powerless. If nothing can be done about this, I honestly don't know what I'm going to do. How is this even legal? How can someone get away with something so vile? I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust anyone again. This whole thing has been messing with my head in ways I can't even explain. I feel dirty, I feel like I've been violated on such a deep level, and there's nothing I can do to undo it. My mum wants me to check into a hospital just to make sure that I'm okay mentally, and I'm honestly going to do it. I don't feel stable right now. I don't feel like myself. I'm scared I might hurt myself or someone else. Eric was eating the same food. He was eating the food that he had contaminated right alongside me. Was it a kink? A power trip? I don't even know anymore. All I know is the man that I thought I knew, the man I loved, is a complete stranger to me now. I can't believe I've been living with someone capable of something so vile. I feel like I'm losing my mind, and I don't know how I'm going to come back from this. How can he do this to me? I'm genuinely losing it. I'm a danger to myself. I won't be on. I'm going to check myself into the hospital. So yeah, I actually have no words. I don't know how to finish this one, so I'm just gonna go to the next story, because that was disgusting. Posted by user BasketAnnie8573, titled, "Am I the asshole here for kicking my girlfriend's friends out after she told them my size?" So I've been dating a girl named Jess for the last 7 months, and everything's been great until 2 days ago. Jess loves drinking wine and having wine nights with her friends, but she always drinks more than she should. The night that this happened, she had a bottle of wine to herself, which is way more than she should have had because she is more of a lightweight when it comes to drinking. Jess had 3 of her friends over, Annika, Sam, and Lexi, who were also very intoxicated. I wasn't in the room, but I overheard them talking about me. It was mostly good, and was about how good of a boyfriend I was, and that they all like me. I'm glad they like me because they're important to Jess, and I don't want to end things with her. But the next thing I hear Jess say is that I'm glad to have him, but his penis is a little small. When I heard this, I was very taken aback because I'm not well endowed, about 3.5 inches hard, and she knows about my insecurities about my size. I was very angry and was walking to confront her when I heard them all laughing when Jess told them my actual size instead of keeping it to herself when she'd already betrayed my trust by talking about my size in the first place. I was very hurt that she would talk about my body when she knows my insecurities, so I angrily kicked all of her friends out of my apartment and told her to sleep on the couch or go home. She's about an 8-minute walk from my apartment. She decided to sleep on the couch after yelling at me and calling me an asshole for kicking her friends out. She told me that it was no big deal, and that girls just talk about that kind of stuff. When I woke up, she was gone and didn't answer my calls. She left a message saying that I need to apologize to her and her friends because I was overreacting to normal girl talk. I don't think I was overreacting because she betrayed my trust, but they all keep saying that they did nothing wrong and are expecting an apology from me. So am I the asshole for kicking my girlfriend's friends out after she talked about my smaller size to them? Is it me, or is this like a genuine example of gaslighting? Because, what OP heard was them making fun of him and putting him down and then saying, this is just normal, you shouldn't be upset about that. This is just how normal people talk. Well, my question is, if normal people talk like that and OP never gets upset at normal conversation, why did this conversation upset him? You would think that there were abnormal qualities to the conversation that these people were having that caused an emotional reaction when otherwise normal conversation wouldn't do that. Isn't that kind of crazy? I think you absolutely should not apologize to them for your reaction. Your emotions were valid, your reaction was valid, and I doubt that, unless you completely embarrass yourself and do this, that your relationship with your girlfriend is going to survive. I feel like this was you standing up for yourself and having a backbone, and the relationship is going to die because of it. Unless you were a subservient little boy to your girlfriend and let them embarrass you, she was not going to stay with you. Like, it seems as though she has a humiliation fetish. That's all I'm seeing. You're better off without her. She's a gigantic piece of trash, OP, not the asshole. Accurate prompt says, not the asshole. Drunk or not, she sounds like a terrible person with no regard for your feelings. And her friends are also questionable for not shutting the conversation down. Laughing about it together is not acceptable. If it were me, she would be an ex at this point. Exciting Tabletop says, to me, that the betrayal was so casual would be the sticking point, and she would be an ex. Someone only does this if they have utterly no regard for their partner as a person, let alone as their girlfriend or boyfriend. Honestly, she would be an ex-girlfriend if she did that to me and had the audacity to demand an apology. Not worth dealing with her. Not the arsehole. And now, onto the update. In my last post, I talked about how my girlfriend told her friends that I have a small penis, then told them about the length, 3.5 inches, while they all laughed about it. I then angrily kicked them all out. My girlfriend was angry and wanted me to apologize for being an asshole about it. This update isn't long. I didn't apologize to Jess or her friends for kicking them out, and ended things with her because she betrayed my trust and tried to gaslight me. They still don't think Jess did anything wrong about revealing my smaller penis size, and continued to mock me about it. Some of you were right, and they did proudly spread my size around to more of their friends, but I don't care because I'm done with all of them. I'm glad that I learned about her true nature early in our relationship, and I found out that it's not the first time she broke my trust and talked about my size to her friends, but it was the first time she actually told them how many inches I have. Yes, I know women talk about that stuff, but she knew about my insecurities about it. This whole experience has been embarrassing and has made me doubt myself more, but I will continue to work on my self-esteem in the future. Remy Lee Hardy says, if the roles were reversed and she caught you talking to your friends about her body parts, she'd be crying and calling you a jerk. She sounds like a nightmare. Good riddance. Basket Every says, personally, a woman who discusses their partner's penis size with her friends is on par with when men share nudes of previous partners. Noob Again Reddit says, not even a little remorse shown from your girlfriend? Good that she revealed her true nature. Now you know the real her. Keep strong, mate. Is it just me, or did it come off like a humiliation fetish from him? Like, I feel like every sentence didn't need to qualify his penis size in detail the way he did and the way that he kept going over it again. If he is as upset about it as he is, I feel like you wouldn't keep demonstrating those details so repeatedly. I mean, absolutely great that he got away from his girlfriend here, but what's going on with that? I'm giving crazy side-eye for all those details in your posts. Thank you for breaking up with her, OP, and thank you for the story. I very much appreciate that. What do you guys think? I would love to know in the comments below. My mum feels that my sister should have married my husband instead of me. I'm upset at my mum and my sister because of something my mother said, but everyone around me feels as though I am overreacting. Please be brutally honest in telling me if I'm being insecure, or if my mum and my husband are wrong in this. Let me give you a bit of a backstory. My husband James, 34 male, and I, 29 female, were neighbours growing up. My sister Fran, 34 female, was in the same grade as my husband growing up. Everyone knew my sister in school because she is very smart and beautiful. James had a huge crush on her, and all of us knew about it. He asked her out for senior prom, and Fran shot him down in front of the whole school. They still remained friends, but he moved to a different state for college, and we didn't hear much from him, except see him when he came back for holidays. James and I were never friends growing up, since I was in middle school when this happened. In fact, I was much younger than both of them, and they would actively avoid me or involve me in their hangouts and activities. I went to a good college and got my first job in the same city as James. My mum suggested that I should contact James, since I didn't know anyone there. We became friends, and 3 years later, we got married. We both have high-paying jobs and love our life. We moved back to our hometown during COVID, as James's mum had health issues, and our jobs allowed us to work remotely. Fran also had a pretty good life. She married when she was 23, and her husband was pretty well off. 2 years ago, Fran discovered that he was cheating on her for almost the entire duration of their marriage with multiple partners, and she decided to break things off. Fran moved back in with my mum. Fran had not worked for the entire duration of their marriage and was expecting to gain significant alimony from the divorce. However, due to complications regarding prenup, she barely got anything and is struggling financially. She got a job but is barely able to afford her own place and continues living with my mum. James and I were very supportive of her during the whole process. Since James and Fran were friends growing up, they both have a special bond. They have their inside jokes and stories, and I sometimes feel like a third wheel when we all meet. However, James keeps his distance and has never given me any reason to believe that he has lingering feelings for her. Fran, on the other hand, constantly visits us, like 2 to 3 times a week, and ends up staying for dinner and sleeping in our guest room. I don't mind her coming over, but I don't like the fact that she talks more to James than with me. Also, she always comes over when I'm not home, and I often find them sitting next to each other on the sofa and watching TV when I get home. It sort of reminds me of my childhood, where I was locked out of our basement when Fran had friends over, and I would feel left out. Fran is also too comfortable around James and walks around the house in just a towel after her shower when James is around, or sleep in her underwear in the guest room without locking the door. I have voiced my concerns to her, but she says that we have family and she does not care. I have also voiced my concerns to James, and he does make efforts now to explain stories and inside jokes if Fran makes them. The main issue happened this weekend. I was hanging out with my mum and Fran last weekend, and Fran was recollecting stories about how James would do her homework and do chores for her growing up. She said, "He was so much in love with me, and I felt guilty taking advantage of him." My mum jokingly said to her that I wish you had the wits to marry James than your loser husband, and you wouldn't have been in this situation. Fran smiled after hearing that and nodded, but I was hurt by the comment. I protested to my mum that James is my husband and I do not want her to make such comments about him. My mum doubled down and said that she feels like it's because both James and I are high earners while Fran is struggling, so it would make sense if Fran was married to James and I would be fine since I do not need James to support me financially. She kept on saying that it was a hypothetical and just wants both her daughters to be happy. I did not like these comments and told them to not speak like that about James and my marriage in general. Fran chimed in and told me that I should not take the comments so personally and that I'm being too sensitive. However, I had a fight with the both of them and I left. When I came home and told James, he also sided with my mum and Fran and told me that her mum just made a harmless joke. I also raised the issue of Fran's behavior around our house, and he told me that this is between me and my sister, and he's not going to tell Fran about what she can or cannot wear in his house. However, I'm feeling really bad about the situation, and despite everyone apologizing to me, things just don't feel right. Am I wrong here in reacting the way that I did? Or does everyone else have a point, and I should be more secure about my relationship with James? No Imagination says, "Not the asshole. Your sister is really hanging on to the fact that he liked her in high school. This is probably because she's at such a low in her life. She needs to wake up and learn boundaries. Your mother encouraging her is ridiculous. She should be saying that sister should be more like you, financially independent and in a stable marriage." Yeah, sister probably is one of those who peaked in high school. Blazing Sunflower replies, "She had no idea when in high school that in 10 years, nobody would care that she was popular in high school. Now nobody cares, and her glory years are over. But she can sort of reenact them by hanging out with James and reigniting the crush that he had on her. He's being used for her ego. He needs to see that. Yoga Lover Gal says, "Not the asshole. Your mother's comment was inappropriate and disrespectful towards your marriage, and it's concerning that your husband is dismissing your feelings about Fran's behavior. It's not about insecurity. It's about wanting respect in your relationship and home." OP replies, "This has been a pattern through my life. Due to age difference, Fran has always treated me like a kid. I just felt insulted that my mum completely ignored my feelings while making such comments. However, a part of me has also been jealous of Fran because of all the attention she got, and I was the nerdy little weird girl in our family." Saxonville replies, "Welp, no more coming home to your sister in your house hanging out with your husband alone. She can come over when you're home or not at all, and no more of her spending the night. She's trying, and it's so desperate that it's just sad." Yeah, it's clear to me who the golden child is in this family here, and it's sad that this far out of high school, you're still being treated like a child, OP, and she is still being favored to really messed up proportions. Oh yeah, you know what? Fran had a crush on your husband in high school. You know, it would be so sick if you guys would just divorce and Fran could marry your husband instead. I'm gonna A-OK her weird, creepy behavior towards your husband that crosses so many lines and boundaries because I like her more than you. That's genuinely the message that she's sending to you, and it's okay to feel the way you are because it's not okay. You are being manipulated by people around you. It's okay to have boundaries, it's okay to have a spine, it's okay to tell them to cut the shit because they are not acting like normal people. Your husband too, he needs to learn boundaries. He can't just tap out because, oh, not my family, not my problem. He's married to you. It is his family. It is his problem. Stop it with the cop-outs, not the asshole OP. And now to the update. Thanks everyone for all the support on my previous post. To summarize what happened, my mum made a really off-putting comment that she wished my sister Fran was married to my husband James. I got really mad, and my husband also tried to undermine my feelings and told me that I was overreacting to a harmless joke. Sorry for the long post, but a lot of you were messaging me for an update and wanted to tell what happened. The comments really made me paranoid, and I did see everyone's point that James may have just married me because of his crush on Fran. This really shot up my anxiety, and I started snooping around. My husband literally makes me check his phone for new messages when he is not around, so I knew that there was nothing to hide there. However, I was spooked by how my sister always knows when I'm not at home, and why James and Fran are always sitting on the same couch when I come home. I tried talking to my husband, and he told me that my feelings were valid. However, he also said that Fran is going through a tough time and refused to say anything bad about my mum and Fran. Last Friday, I went to the gym as usual in the evening, and when I came home, Fran was sitting in the living room while James was cooking dinner. I got a bit angry and asked her what she's doing here. She said she had no plans for the night and she came to hang out with us. It really annoyed me, and I told her that I wanted to spend a quiet weekend with my husband and if she can come over another time. She could see that I was upset. She started saying how our mum was just being silly and that I need to let it go since it was just a joke. I told her that I didn't find it funny, and we got into a fight. She said that I'm always an insecure, annoying kid, and it's no wonder no one liked me. It really hurt me, but James stepped in and told Fran that she needs to leave. I have never seen James be so forceful with Fran. Fran muttered some unpleasant things to James and then left. I was in tears by the end of the whole thing, and James was consoling me. I was really upset and spent the night in our room alone. In the morning, I prepared notes on all the things that I wanted to ask James. Your comments really helped me get my thoughts straight. I know I was being very insecure, but after reading the comments, I really started questioning if James really married me for me or just because I was Fran's sister and looked like her. People called me Dollar Store Fran in high school. Oh God. Oh my God. Thank God I'm not in high school anymore. Oh my God. James and I had a long conversation, and I told him my anxieties and insecurities. I told him how it makes me feel that he spends so much time with Fran when she visits us, and they have their own inside jokes. I asked him if he still has feelings for her. He was calm and smiling the whole time. He told me that he'll tell me the truth, but does not want me to hate him for it later. He said that he knows that Fran used him all throughout their school days because she knew that he liked her. When we went to college, Fran still tried to keep in touch with him, but putting distance between them made him realize how badly she treated him, and he decided to just cut contact with her so that he can work on himself. That was the reason. He rarely visited us when he used to come for holidays and stopped being friends with Fran. I told him that it bothered me that he chose Fran before me and ignored me during our childhood. That was the reason that I'd always doubted if I was his second choice. He said that I was 13 when he went to college, and if he would have liked me instead of Fran at that age, we would be having a different problem. He told me that when I contacted him, he thought that I must be like Fran and was not very enthusiastic to meet me. However, after we hung out a few times, he realized that I'm nothing like Fran. We soon became close, started dating, and got married after a few years. He told me that Fran was married by then, and he saw that I always put Fran on the pedestal and would get jealous when Fran posted vacation pictures or the new shiny things her husband had bought for her. That was the reason that he never told me that he does not like hanging around Fran, as he feels that, for me, Fran was always the North Star. He told me that he always kept his distance from Fran, and she was a non-issue since we would meet her only a few times every year. However, after her divorce, he did not know how to act. He said that he was grateful to me for uprooting our lives and moving back to our hometown for his mom's health. He wanted me to do the same and take care of my family. When Fran got divorced, he supported her in every way he could for me, even though he realized it meant spending a lot of time with her and listening to her bring up all the memories from high school that he wants to forget. I told him that it bothered me that Fran came to our house as often as she does, and generally in evenings when I go to the gym. He told me that he also finds it odd that she knows my gym routine and always comes on evenings when I am not at home. However, he told me that he has always kept his distance from her, and if she did anything that would raise an alarm, he would have told me immediately. She just makes him watch all of the old movies or TV shows they watched growing up and gossips endlessly about their high school friends. He told me that I needed to trust him, and if I want him to be the bad guy and ask Fran to not visit us often, he can do that for me. However, he knows that I will eventually make up with my mum and Fran and does not want to blame him for being mean to Fran. He told me he will not tell Fran what to wear around the house, as it would be creepy if it came from him. I felt I got all the assurances that I needed from James, and I will never doubt how amazing of a husband he has been. My mum and Fran visited us on Sunday, and my mum profusely apologized to me. She told me she doesn't want me to feel bad for her comment, and she would never wish anything bad on my marriage. She meant to say that James was a great guy, and she hopes that Fran can find someone like him one day. Fran was a bit sour, but apologized to all of us for the name-calling on Friday, and told us that it's just her hormones. She said that she likes hanging out with her sister and her best friend, and hence comes to our house. I told her that she's welcome to come anytime she wants, but to call ahead of time in case James and I have plans for the evening, and she agreed. I really want to move past this issue, but I do want to put some firm boundaries on when Fran can come to our house and hang out with James alone, as I know that it bothers him too. Overall, I feel as though things are good now. I'm glad my worst fears didn't come true, but I do feel I need some therapy in order to deal with my insecurities. EMJKR says, "Your husband seems great, but I would still keep some distance from your sister. I would not trust her if I was you." Hopeless Mark says, "Keeping boundaries with Fran is essential for your peace of mind and marriage stability." Surgical Me says, "I would add physical distance. If Opie and James can work online and Fran back in town and living with mother, there is no need for Opie and James staying in the same town. They don't have to move far away, just so far so Sister Dear couldn't just pop in. It would be the most reasonable solution." Siren says, "I don't know if Fran ever had thoughts about seducing your husband, but I think she was basking in his affection and was definitely living in a what-if world. She's divorced and financially insecure. Your husband was a potential future that she turned down. When she's over at your house, alone with your husband, she can pretend that that is her life. Married and financially secure to a man who one time worshipped the ground that she walked on. However, your husband doesn't feel that way anymore. I think you can trust his words on that. It sounds like he really just doesn't feel comfortable being the one to set boundaries because he doesn't want to hurt her feelings and she is your sister. Create your boundaries. No more sleepovers, always be appropriately dressed, and don't come over suddenly, call first. And be firm. These are not unreasonable boundaries. You are literally living in the same town, there is no reason for her to sleep over. Yeah, I completely agree with all of those things. It's pretty stupid that she has been sleeping over, but I can understand the dynamic if some people's relationships work that way. And I think that comment about her living in the fantasy land of what if is pretty spot on here, but of course people doing that will never admit to it because that's embarrassing to admit to that, is it not? My life 10 years down the track from where it was is much worse than yours, OP. Financially and relationship-wise, I'm in shambles right now. I was living vicariously through your husband and your life, and I let that get ahead of me. I'm sorry. Who's gonna admit to that? That's not, I feel like that's not a thing. And the mum backtracking and saying, oh, well, sorry, I meant someone like your husband. Not, shut up, you meant the husband. Stop backtracking. Own that shit. Let's be honest for a second. You know, if you're going to be dishonest with me about the fact that, oh no, I know I said your husband, but I didn't mean him literally. I feel worse about you as a person now that you're lying to my face. First you spit in my face, now you lie in my face. I do not like you as a person right now, Mom. You're in the sin bin. I feel like updates like this, where problems resolve, quote unquote, are always going to rub me the wrong way because people just cannot be completely honest with how they acted. They always have to sugarcoat what they did initially to upset OP, to make themselves not feel bad, to make themselves not look like the horrible people that they were being. Anyway, that's my rant on this one. I'd love to know if you guys feel the same way in the comments or not. Let me know what you think about this story. Anyway, let's go on to the next one. This was posted by user Nina Loss, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for calling my elderly neighbor a selfish prick after he threatened me over his late night piano playing? I, 22 female, am at my wit's end with my upstairs neighbor, 65 male. For the past 3 months, he's been playing his piano loudly every single night from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. It started occasionally, but now it's a nightly occurrence. I've tried everything. Politely asking him to stop, leaving a kind note explaining my situation, and even offering to buy him headphones. But his response? Well, this is my creative time. Deal with it or move out. Last night, I reached my breaking point. After another sleepless night, I confronted him in the hallway. I begged him to reconsider, explaining that I'm falling asleep at work and my mental health is suffering. He got in my face and said, "Listen here, you little brat. I've lived here for 30 years. If you can't handle a bit of music, I'll make your life hell. Try complaining again and you'll regret it." I lost it. I called him a selfish old prick and told him to go screw himself. Now he's telling everyone in the building that I'm an abusive, disrespectful youth. Other neighbors are annoyed too, but they're afraid to confront him. The landlord says he can't do anything without multiple complaints. Am I the asshole for snapping at him? Should I apologize, or should I start the process of filing a formal noise complaint even though he threatened me? The sadistic side of me wants to go even lower and go banging pots and pans around him constantly and just ruin his piano lessons and his little creative time he's having up there. But the sane part of me, the one that wants justice in this world, says, Marky, don't do that. That's a bad idea. Yeah, it's funny, but you're gonna get in trouble with the police if you do that, because his noise is okay, but your noise is not, because you're a abusive and disrespectful youth. Like, it's obvious that he's in the wrong, and your neighbors are all just pussies, not wanting to file their own noise complaints. How can they all do that and live with that for 30 years? Sorry, that's pussy behavior. You need to file that formal noise complaint, and you need to get the police on him. Just keep calling the police every time and be like, hey, he's threatening my sanity with this goddamn disruptive noise. Also, your landlord is a pussy as well. He needs to evict that man. What's he doing? God, oh, sorry, he hasn't rocked the boat enough, so I'm complacent here. I don't care. Why is everyone so non-confrontational? Can we have a little confrontation, please? I need the drama. Lewards Alaska says, "Not the asshole. Your neighbor's behavior is incredibly disruptive and disrespectful. You've tried multiple reasonable approaches to resolve the issue. Filing a formal noise complaint is a valid next step, especially given his threats and refusal to compromise." Electrical Dig says, "Sounds like this guy sleeps during the day if he plays music all night. Sounds like it's time to buy some speakers, wedge them to the ceiling, turn up some death metal, and leave for the day." Hiker replies, "That's the point when he calls the police, and then it becomes a back and forth BS contest. Best to just call the police from the get-go. Also, report the threat he made, so cops are aware of the possibility of retaliation." Dog the Bot Hunter asks, "Is there a reason you haven't talked to your landlord or police about this?" And OP says, "Unfortunately, I can do little about my landlord. He seems to own the apartment. I am rented. I was a little scared of the police thing because I don't know how crazy he went afterwards." And now onto the update. I can't believe that I'm writing this update less than 24 hours after my original post. Things have spiraled out of control. After reading your comments last night, I decided to take action. At 8 AM this morning, I called the non-emergency police line to report the ongoing noise disturbance and the threat he made. They said they would send someone to check it out. Around 9 AM, I heard a knock at my door. It was 2 police officers. As I was explaining the situation, we suddenly heard a massive crash from upstairs, followed by the loudest piano playing yet. The officers went up to investigate, and that's when all hell broke loose. My neighbor started screaming about his rights and young punks ruining society. Then we heard more crashing and the sound of a piano being destroyed. Next thing I know, my neighbor is being led out in handcuffs, shouting that he'll make me pay. Apparently, when the cops entered, he was in the process of pushing his piano out the window. He claimed that he was giving me what I wanted, no more piano. The cops found his apartment in complete disarray. He had smashed furniture, punched holes in walls, etc. He's been taken for a psychiatric evaluation. Other neighbors are coming out of the woodwork with their own stories about his erratic behavior. I'm in shock. I wanted the noise to stop, but not like this. I feel terrible. Did I push him over the edge? Should I have handled this differently? I'm safe, but shaken. Any advice on how to process this and move forward? Mystery Love says, "You acted within your rights to seek help with the ongoing noise disturbance, and it's not your fault that your neighbor reacted the way he did. Sometimes people have underlying issues that can lead to extreme behavior, and it's unfortunate that it came to this. Focus on your own well-being and give yourself time to process everything. If you feel comfortable, talking to someone about your feelings could help you work through this." Ben says, "Holy shit, that escalated fast. But honestly, better he lost it now with cops present than alone with you. Who knows what could have happened if this kept building up. Don't feel guilty. Someone who destroys their own apartment and tries to throw a piano out of the window because of a noise complaint isn't mentally stable. You didn't cause this, you just happened to be the final straw. Stay safe." And OP says, "He doesn't seem to be quite clean, at least in the head. Thank you." Dryad says, "This was never about OP. If it hadn't been her, it would have been someone or something else. If anything, she may have actually gotten him in a position to get help that he clearly needed." Okay, in that context, I can see why people were apprehensive and didn't report him because he was just mentally disturbed and a danger to himself and to others. I didn't know that he was destroying the apartment, okay? I apologize for that. That was wrong of me. I'm glad he didn't take out his rage physically on OP. Glad that it was just the apartment that took a beating. Hopefully he does get the help he needs now and calms down a bit because, Jesus, that could have been a completely different story had it not gone that way. Thank you for sharing your story with us, OP. I very much appreciate that. And what do you guys think in the comments below? Let me know. Our next post is by a throwaway account, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole here for calling off my wedding because my fiancé wanted to invite her ex?" My fiancé wanted to invite an ex to our wedding. From what I know, he was a dick who always put her down and told her that he was the best she could ever do. Naturally, I asked her why the hell does she want him at our wedding? She said she wanted to shove it in his face that she did amazingly for herself and she got someone way better. While I appreciate the compliment, I asked her, "Are you really so hung up on him that you're gonna make our wedding about him?" Honestly, once I said it, it was like someone else told me. I didn't even realize what I was saying, and I didn't even understand it until I said it. I told her that she shouldn't bother to invite him because we weren't getting married anymore. She was stunned and eventually apologized and told me to forget about her ex. I felt angry and almost told her that she's the one who needs to forget about him. I don't know. She spent the day telling me that she's sorry for bringing it up. I'll be honest, I'm even reconsidering the entire relationship now. Alice Shea says, "Not the asshole for calling off the wedding. If her fixation on her ex raised serious doubts about the relationship, the fact that she wanted to invite him to shove it in his face shows that she's still emotionally tied to proving something to him." Tifu replies, "This, at a minimum, she is not prepared for marriage. At worst, she still has feelings for him. I'm not saying to end the relationship, but at least postpone the wedding for several months until you have more time to clear your uneasiness and feel again that she is the one. Don't take unnecessary risks." Three Heathens' mom says, "I'd suggest OP delaying for at least a year. If OP and fiancé are living together, I'd suggest they live separately. The goal being to find out if she is with OP because she loves him for himself, or does she love the idea of OP so that she can throw it in her ex's face." GTS says, "Not the asshole. She lets you know that she's not over her ex yet. That's why she wants to exhibit you to him like a prize or a trophy. What does she expect to happen after that? Does she intend for him to come at her regretting that he lost her, but now he's a different person and things could work out between them? She didn't make her marriage about him for no reason. She didn't even consider that it would be your marriage too. You did the right thing by reconsidering your relationship. She is not ready to marry, at least not with you. There should not be a third person in her mind when planning such an important step." Yeah, that's why everyone says the best revenge is just to lead a good life and move on from it all. If she's still hung up on the ex and how he treated her all this time later, she's not ready to get married, and you should be questioning that relationship, OP. That's a really messed up thing to say. That's childish. That's holding on to negative emotions from the past that she should have processed and moved on from already. She should not ever be thinking about him in any context. He should be "oh, that was a funny memory. Anyway." Not, my wedding's gonna be sick. I'm gonna invite him and do this whole song and dance and show him that I've moved on from him by inviting him to my wedding and making a whole deal about it. That is unhinged behavior, OP. I don't blame you for taking a step back. It's okay to postpone the wedding and stay with her, but if she doesn't show any change, that is your pass to walk out of this relationship. She is unhinged, not the asshole. And now onto the updates. So we're going to try some premarital counseling first. Our wedding has gone from being called off to being postponed indefinitely. My fiancée tried to explain why she wanted to invite her ex, but not only did she keep changing her answers, each one made it way worse for me. First, she tried to explain that she just wanted some payback. I told her, "And if he doesn't care, are you gonna rub in his face our first child, our first home?" She said she didn't mean it that way, and she just wanted to prove her worth, which I then told her that I guess her ex is the only one who can determine her worth. We kept going on like this for a while, and there wasn't a single answer she gave that didn't boil down to she cares what her ex thinks, and apparently she can't be happy unless her ex felt some sort of way. She denied it, but honestly, I find it hard to believe her. I don't want our marriage to be only worth something if her ex is the only one who can determine it. I refuse to be with someone whose happiness revolves around their ex's feelings. I decided to at least try some counseling. We've been together for years now. FYI, she was with her ex for about 2 years, and 3 years later she met me. We have been together for 4. I figured I should try, so at least I can say I tried. Death to All Ants says, "Just wow, rent-free looks like. Pretty pathetic for her and sad for the guy to have wasted his time." Fries with Shake Booty says, "This is the kind of thing that she should have framed better and shared with a girlfriend. Hey, remember when Kyle said no one else would ever love me? The best thing I did was keep walking because look at my life now. But that's not how she feels anyways. I hope OP is being honest and going through these motions just so he knows he tried his best. I would never marry someone so emotionally immature that they want to invite an ex out of revenge. I'm sure that would backfire too. The ex, if he showed, would think, it's so great we can be friends. She would pout at her own wedding for not getting the reaction she wanted. And Miserable Most says, not the arsehole. After 7 years broken up, 4 years out of the 7 with you, and sounds like she's still not over him, I wouldn't dare marry her. And neither would I, OP. I think, go to the relationship counseling, marriage counseling, everything. Go figure that shit out. But she keeps making excuses. She will not concede any points. She will not admit that what she is doing is wrong. It's just, well, have you considered this? Well, what about if I say this instead? Does that change your mind? No. Oh, I see where you're coming from. I'm sorry for hurting your feelings this way. I did wrong. I was wrong. I will change and I will be a better person as I see this is affecting you and it is causing a schism between us. I'm not hearing any of that from her. That is what you want. You want a proper apology, an affirmation that she did wrong and she will change, but she refuses to do that. She is childish. She's hung up on an ex that she was only dating for half the time that she's been dating you. Why stay? Why give in to sunk cost fallacy? Other people will. You don't have to be that guy, OP. So I hope if there is another update in the future, you've left her, you know your worth, because I don't think she's going to change. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I very much appreciate it. And I'd love to know what you guys have to say in the comments down below. Am I wrong? Am I reaching by saying that she isn't going to change? Because, I think that there's potential, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can tell me. I'd love to see. Am I the asshole here for leaving my partner and refusing to be involved in any way, shape, or form after they stopped taking the pill and pierced our condoms to have a child? My partner has been on the pill throughout our relationship, and we've been on a bit of a battle these past few weeks over having children. I categorically said that I don't want them and started using condoms for double protection. This morning, she told me that she's pregnant, and I asked how this could happen when we had been so careful. She admitted to coming off the pill and piercing through the condoms that we have stored. I've said that I don't want this and that I'm not up for marrying into a relationship based on lies. She says she's keeping it and has already told her friends, as according to her, she's done the test 8 weeks ago and was keeping it quiet in the hopes that I'd change my mind. I have no idea what to do here. Help! I'm in England and am 29. Trashmouth says, reproductive coercion has been illegal in the UK since 2015. Seek out legal counsel as soon as you can. Strangled in Moonlight says, also get a DNA test. She's crazy. She may very well have cheated and just lied about the condoms. Little Miss Hot Dice says, that, or she says she's pregnant but isn't, hoping that he lets down his guard and has unprotected sex, thus resulting in a pregnancy. Seen it happen to a few friends. I just don't understand why they don't find someone who wants a kid instead of baby trapping someone who doesn't. Plenty of men who want kids. Find those guys and procreate. This is the next one says, do not block them. Sent her a text saying that it was really hurtful that she went off the pill and broke the condoms without telling you. When she replies, you have it in writing. Go to police and save backups of the texts. Stoic says, this is stealthing and falls under conditional consent. You should read the Sexual Offences Act of 2003, Section 74. If an act falls outside of the given conditions, then the act is non-consensual and goes against the consent given. You did not give consent to her poking holes in the condoms, and she has done something illegal. I hope you can document this via text messages and file a complaint against her. Not the asshole. As much as all this advice is amazing and will help in the case that he gets a lawyer and defends himself here, everyone says go to the police, go to the police. How often do police take male sexual assault seriously? And this is the UK as well, completely different world to what most of us understand. I feel personally, this is my bias, that he would get laughed out of the police station and told that, no, you're taking the piss. You got someone pregnant, you can't prove that, yada yada yada. I know it's not true of everyone and every situation, but I know in my heart of hearts that male sexual assault does not get taken seriously, and most likely this would happen. Really, all you can do in a situation like this is lawyer up and do everything your lawyer tells you to do, not the arsehole OP. And now onto the updates. Firstly, thank you so much for all of your comments. I didn't expect this to blow up quite so much as it did. Secondly, I want to get a few things straight as people seem to be struggling with timelines. A, my partner and I were due to get married in a few short weeks. We have had many long and involved conversations during our relationship about us both wanting to remain a child-free family over the years that we have been together. Around 2 to 3 months ago, they started to appear to change their mind, which I feel insecure and unhappy about, as it's not something that I want from life, which is why I'd booked a vasectomy through the NHS. I cannot afford to go private, as money is very tight. Again, another reason I do not want children. B, she admitted to tampering with condoms and said that she'd come off the pill several weeks ago. At that point, prior to her saying that kids might be an option for her, we were still having sex, and I was under the impression that we were protected as she was on the pill. I have made no secret about how I do not want kids, and she is fully aware of my reasons behind that, which I do not have to share with strangers on the internet. C, she has shown me a test, and it confirms that she is pregnant. I have asked that she get an abortion, she has refused, and I feel the trust has gone completely from our relationship. We are now in the process of cancelling the engagement, which she isn't happy with at all, and has said that I'm ruining her life. Now, for those people telling me to go to therapy, man up, or that I'm lying, it's great that you disagree with me, but I'd never tell you to attend therapy if your worldview differed to mine. That I should be at fault after my partner has lied to me, apparently for months, and that I'm a liar. Here's a few other things for you. 1. No, I do not like kids, and I don't like entitled parents. I see it the same as disliking dogs, cats, or birds. That is my opinion. Not for everyone, and not all people have to tolerate your madness. My disinterest and lack of care towards them is one of the many reasons why it would be idiotic for me to be a father. 2. Those calling bullshit on the 21+ wedding venue thing are just wrong. It's a stipulation of the venue we chose, nothing more and nothing less. 3. The plane thing happened several years ago. The smoking area fiasco occurred over a year ago. Colleagues bringing their newborns into work is a continued pain and really just gets my goat. Just like some people don't like Susan to eat her tuna mayo baguette, it shows a complete and utter lack of etiquette and thought by parents who are coming out in their droves to tell me how wrong I am about their decision. Side note, I'm guessing those are all things that OP covered in their comments, but this video would probably be half an hour long by now if I covered all their comments. Will provide updates as and when I get through all the comments. Be kind, people. Update 2. I spoke to a lawyer earlier today who was advised that as we are not married, that I won't be automatically added to the birth certificate. Woohoo! My ex-partner can still claim that I'm the biological father, but without my consent to a DNA test, is unlikely to be able to prove it, unless it is ordered by the courts. But as I've been coerced into this, my lawyer thinks my ex-partner and family will back down as I have evidence. The lawyer advised that I don't waive my parental rights yet, as it would indicate that I still believe the fetus could be mine. So I just have to bide my time and leave the country till this all blows over. The lawyer also suggested that I go self-employed, but didn't divulge the specifics. My ex-partner has admitted to coming off birth control and piercing the condoms, which she said she'd done around 3 months ago, as she knew that I was due a vasectomy early next week and thought that I would change my mind. She has refused to have an abortion, which is her right, and I've refused any involvement. Has anyone been through this before and managed to not pay out? I think I've got a pretty good case. Update 3. My ex-partner is going to keep the baby. She wants me to be involved in her life and says that she doesn't want to lose me over something like this. A life-changing, unwanted event? Yeah, sure, ha ha ha. I have said that I will be having nothing to do with this mistake and that all responsibility now lies with her and her family. She has been blocked from using any form of mobile communication with me, and I have now been sent 3 letters by her to my parents' house. The last letter included a scan of the embryo and a note requesting that I submit a DNA sample. The scan has confirmed that she is 13 to 14 weeks pregnant, which means that she kept this hidden for a good chunk of time. She has said that she will not have an abortion, as this is what she always wanted, and that she will be taking me to court if I don't offer to help. The more time that goes on, the more she makes this an awful situation, the more I hate her. I refused the DNA test and sent her screenshots, on my lawyer's advice, of the conversation where she admitted to coming off the pill and piercing the condoms in an attempt to get pregnant. She has now gone quiet until this morning. She is pursuing legal action against me, my family, and is looking for a private arrangement of child support. The amount she wants for this bag of cells is triple the recommended amount via the government, and is one of the reasons that she's trying to get me to admit that it's my DNA in the embryo so that she can keep me. I have just lost my job, I have no savings, this is going to ruin me, my life, and the only way out that I can think of is just to run off a cliff and hope for the best. I hate this. And now, onto the latest update. My ex's parents have now gotten involved and have lumbered me with a court-ordered DNA test or the option to lay child support and have no involvement. I have dug my heels in and said that everything she has done will constitute involvement from the police, and am trying to avoid legal battles as I have no money or means to support myself right now, let alone a child that I never ever wanted. My parents are now asking me to reconsider my position, and I want to scream every time they bring it up as they're trying to find a positive, and have said it might be the best thing to ever happen to me, and it makes me physically sick every time I think about my life being ruined under someone else's deception. I cannot sleep, I cannot focus, I am so scared. I have now had a vasectomy. Every guard says, have you discussed with your lawyer standing on the grounds of sexual assault because you never consented to unprotected sex and she admitted to tampering with birth control? There is a pretty good chance that you will need to pay child support. Really, just follow everything your lawyer advises. OP says, it's absolutely disgusting that I would need to pay, and that this is the battle my lawyer and I are currently engaged in. Material replies, but you can file a police report and have her charged with sexual assault. Jakeyland says, OP keeps threatening to involve the police because she pierced the condoms. Why doesn't he just do it? Archbish says, because until she went forward with getting the court to order a DNA test, that would be an admission that the child is potentially his. The implied threat to report was intended to make her reluctant to force the child support issue, though I suspect explicitly making that threat would be an independent crime on OP's part. Now that she's forced the issue, though, I don't see a downside in reporting the crime. A downside being that because he's a male victim, he's not taken seriously. Some of our police in the UK aren't great across the board with this sort of thing, whether the victim's a man or a woman. Really just a hellish predicament to be caught in. The fact that you can be forced into a situation like this and then forced to pay child support is just indescribable to me. It's not right. It's not fair. I really don't know what the solution to this problem is, but I do hope that he and his lawyer come up with something that absolves him of having to pay child support or having any involvement in that shit mess at all. I don't know what else there is to say. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next post is by user Rebound Dork, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here that my husband is planning to go on a dinner date with a long-term ex? My husband Jack, male 36, used to date Emma, female 34, for years. They broke up because Jack didn't want to get married or have kids. Emma moved away, and about a month later, Jack met me, female 30. I don't look like the typical girls that Jack had been dating. For example, Emma is super tall, blonde with blue eyes, and has a PhD. I'm petite, 110 pounds and short, I'm a nurse, I have dark curly hair, and I'm an introvert, but apparently she was a social butterfly. Jack has a group of friends that he's known since childhood. They are like brothers to him, but from the very beginning, they didn't like me. They still call me the rebound girl. At our wedding, during his best man speech, he joked, "We all thought rebound girls were temporary, but our brother Jack made an honest woman out of her." Oh my god, at your wedding, what? I would have snatched the mic out of his hand. There would have been violence. Everyone laughed, but I didn't. They also joke that I'm just a nurse and that Jack downgraded, since he has a PhD technically postdoctoral from a doctor to just a nurse. This is why we say you need to make boundaries and enforce them. You can't be allowing this shit to slide, OP. People should be afraid of disrespecting you like this. For my own sanity, I ignore them, and Jack still hangs out with them regularly. Last weekend, there was a fundraising gala, and Emma was there. I saw her for the first time in person. Jack introduced me, and Emma said, "Yeah, I know who she is." The guys weren't kidding when they described her. Jack quickly changed the topic and asked how long she was in town. She said for a week, and then they ended up chatting all night, reminiscing about old times. I decided to talk to other people. Later at bedtime, Jack mentioned that he should go out to dinner with Emma. I assumed he meant inviting her over, so I asked what kind of food she likes so I could make it. And he said, no, it would just be the two of them. I asked, like a date? And he replied, no, just two friends going out to dinner. Why are you so insecure? I asked him, do you miss her? Do you miss being with her? And he said, I'm not gonna lie, it felt great talking to her tonight. There's just something about her. I got really upset and told him that he can do whatever he wants, but if he goes on this dinner date, I'm done. He thinks I'm overreacting and being insecure. 8 Marshmallows says, your husband and his friends haven't shown a lot of respect for you or your marriage. How long have you been with him and dealing with this? How long is he going to let this go on? OP replies, his family has been extremely kind and respectful to me. Not once they mentioned his ex's name or compared me. His friends, on the other hand, think it's funny to make these comments. Fun Quit says, it stands out that the people your husband chose to be in his life, friends, are this disrespectful compared to the people he has to have in his life, family. This sounds like a husband issue. 8 Marshmallows replies, I wouldn't want to be friends with someone who made a sport of hurting my partner's feelings. How long have you been together? OP says, I met Jack when he was 30 and I was 24. Violet replies, you are known by the company you keep. They make jokes because he allows them to make jokes. Why? Only he knows, but perhaps there is some truth in it. If he stood up for you, they would stop. I would not be okay with my husband going on a dinner date with his ex. You need to decide what is best for you. It's your life to live. Expanding on what I said before about setting and maintaining boundaries, that includes keeping your husband in line. Though I feel like you shouldn't even have to do this from the get-go, like the bare minimum for someone should be they respect you and their friends respect you, but this isn't happening. I know that you can clamp down on this behavior and set your husband in line, absolutely, but is that worth it in this case? If you try to extend an olive branch to him, is he actually going to do anything about it? Will he change his behavior? Will he get his friends to stop disrespecting you? Or will they just hide all of that, and this is something that will bubble up from under the surface? I just don't really see a way forward without a divorce happening here. It just sounds like this guy hates you and allows everyone to bully you and enjoys that because you just take it. Not the asshole for being upset that he plans to go on a dinner date with his long-term ex. This to me just feels like he's pushing the boundaries as far as he can until you snap. And now onto the updates. It's 4:45 a.m. and I didn't sleep last night. I thought I'd post an update. I decided to stay awake and talk to him when he came home. When he did, I told him, I could have tracked your location, shown up at the restaurant, and done so many things to get my answer, but I'd like to believe that you have enough respect for me to tell me, were you on a dinner date with your friends or Emma? He showed me pictures and said, no, it was all of us, me, my friends, and Emma. I was stupid enough to feel relieved, even feeling bad for accusing him. Then he told me to sit down because we needed to talk. He said that after seeing Emma at the gala, he couldn't stop thinking about her. He decided to take Monday and Tuesday, yesterday, off, and spent the whole day with her, while I assumed he was at work. That's separation territory for me, at a minimum. He went on about how strong their connection was, how they couldn't stop talking, and how much he enjoyed being with her. He told me that I'm a sweet woman, but he never felt that spark with me. And yet he married you. Depravity knows no bounds. He said that at dinner, Emma was laughing and having fun with everyone, and it felt like old times, compared to me being quiet and uncomfortable around his friends. He said it's best if we go our separate ways. I asked him if they had sex, and he didn't reply. I asked again and again, but he still wouldn't answer. I was so upset and asked, "Why did you marry me if you're not over her?" And he said he thought that I was the one, but these past 2 days made him realize that there is no spark between us. He kept going on about how sweet I am, and that I will find someone too. I told him to shut up. I said, Emma knew about your cancer treatments. Where was she when you needed a friend? Why didn't she ever call you back then? He went quiet. I feel stupid for ignoring all the red flags over the years and wasting 6 years of my life with him. My next step is hiring a lawyer and finding my own place. I feel so dumb right now. I'm gonna contact my brother to help me. Thank you, everyone. Lil Man from the D says, your husband and his friends sound like complete assholes. The rebound girl at the wedding is so disrespectful and not funny. Then the ex coming back into play and him rubbing it in your face. The guys weren't kidding when they described her. The audacity of this girl. This guy is a total jackass. Sounds like they deserve each other. You have deserved someone better for a long time. Ruda replies, exactly. And him telling her that she wasn't bubbly around his friends who always treat her like she's not worthy of their blessed presence. Gross. They are all assholes, and I hope that karma will get them. Cyber Arwen says, he will regret this. He will find that she was an ex for something. It won't work and he will come back begging for you. I'm so sorry. OP replies, he had the audacity to say that he realized he was stupid for now not marrying her years ago. She's the only one for me. She's everything that I ever wanted in a partner. We talked about the past. We planned our future. Great. Maybe take off your wedding ring before drooling over your ex. I'm Not Creepy says, time and time again, I see posts like these where someone's partner lets people they know insult their partners, and unsurprisingly, the partner who lets it happen usually turns out to be shitty. Any partner that lets other people disrespect you also has no respect for you. Yeah, just a sad state of affairs all around, and hopefully OP does find someone that respects them. They learn from all of the red flags that they chose to ignore in this situation, thinking, oh, it's not that bad. He does love me. That's just the dynamic of his friend group, You gotta suck these things up for your partner. If you really love them, you'll put up with that. You'll be quiet. Like, no, don't have that mindset. Stand up for yourself. Have some respect for yourself. And walk out of that relationship when you are being disrespected. It truly is a sad state of affairs, and you shouldn't have to be disrespected in the first place at all. What is wrong with these people? At your wedding, calling you the rebound girl and saying that he made a good woman out. What? I would be going to jail for murder if someone said that about me at my wedding. That's all I'll say about that. I'd like to know what you guys have to say about this one down in the comments, though. Our next post is by user ThatWitch72, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here for not letting a family member enter pictures that I took into a contest under their name? Recently, there was a regional photo contest near my area. However, I wasn't a part of the community that put it on, and therefore wasn't eligible to enter. I was completely okay with this, as I like to enter other photo contests in my communities, but I digress. I have a family member in that community who asked repeatedly to enter a couple of my pictures from Grand Tetons National Park into the contest under her name so it would be eligible for prizes. I refused because I didn't know the terms of the contest and whether or not the picture became their IP when entered, so I couldn't use it in my own contest. The rest of my family seems to think that I'm selfish and that I have dozens of pictures good enough for these contests, and that this family member is just trying to be helpful by putting my photos in more contests. Plus, I don't know what it is. I just can't stand the idea of someone else's name on my work. I think I might be the asshole because I could just let her enter these pictures and take pride in them secretly if they do well, but I'm refusing. Am I the asshole? Free Range Chicken says, not the asshole. It's your work, not theirs. They're not trying to be helpful, they're trying to pass off your work as their own. If you're trying to get your photography out there, you certainly don't want to let them take your work. In the worst case scenario, which I don't know how likely, but just a thought, it somehow gets around that this happened, it could end up with your entries in other places being called into question. OP says, oh man, I hadn't thought of that. Brit says, contact the organizers of this competition and let them know of the pictures, just in case she tries to do it without your knowledge. DJ2 Supreme says, not the asshole. I see this as similar to someone wanting to copy a college essay and use it as their own. This is called plagiarism. People get in serious trouble for plagiarizing work. OP says, that's what I said, but my entire family seems to think plagiarism only applies to written work. DJ replies, no. Plagiarism can be applied to any kind of work. I've seen a lot of people post drawings claiming to be theirs, but then someone calls them out by pointing out the original artist. That's a reason why artists also sign their work, to prevent people from claiming it as their own. Yeah, absolutely not the asshole for not letting the family member enter the pictures. Your family don't know what they're talking about, so they're all just talking out of their asses, much like I do on a daily basis, but I digress. If you don't want someone using your work, in which it's something they could easily do themselves, picking up a camera and learning how to take photos, that's where this argument ends, full stop. I said no, you're not doing it. And if they decide to go behind your back and do it anyway, there is going to be hell to pay. That's a serious offense because the ramifications of their actions could be dire to your career or your hobby as a photographer. Who knows what you could be blamed for down the line? Who knows if you could be disqualified or barred from other contests because they're like, oh, well, you're plagiarizing from your cousin who stole from you. I just feel like there's too many bad things that could happen to the potential good things that could happen, and why risk that? It's just a stupid, unnecessary risk to take, and you're not the asshole for trying to cut that shit out right now. And now, onto the updates. So I took the advice of a lot of the commenters and told my family I wouldn't allow anyone else to enter my pictures under their name, and then made sure that my family members didn't enter my photos without my permission by attending the contest and threatening to report them if they tried. I've also taken to not sending around any of my pictures without a watermark. I used some of the arguments given in the comments to justify my decision, and while my family still didn't agree, they let it go and stopped pressuring me to send them all of the original pictures. I know some people suggested that I tell the contest organizers, but I didn't think that it was worth going that far. Man, I probably should have though. So, more recently, one of my aunts also got into photography and sent me a lot of pictures that she took on a vacation to New Orleans. Well, my plagiarizing family member took them and entered them into a contest in the local paper, Small Town, under her own name, and won. The picture was featured in the paper and referenced only her as the photographer, along with a quote by her. I don't think the rest of us would have ever found out about it if my uncle didn't like to read the paper every day. Now my aunt is angry, and so is the rest of the family. I'm kinda curious if they would have reacted this strongly for me, but it doesn't really matter. At least now my family understands why I reacted as strongly as I did. And edit, for everyone saying that I should report her to the paper, I would if I thought that it would make a difference. But sadly, my family member's boyfriend is the biggest sponsor for the local paper, so I don't think they'd risk losing his funding. Lawyer Dad says, oh, and I'm sure the plagiarizing family member gave every bit of the prize to your aunt. Right? Right? At any rate, congratulations on still having a hometown newspaper. That's something. Dangerous Lettuce says, I'd be petty and let the organizers know who really took the photo, anonymously or not, so they could award the prize to your aunt or whoever came second, and get them to also publicize in the paper why that family member no longer came first. Cedar Sky says, sounds like this family member needs to pick up a damn camera and start taking their own pictures for contests. It's not that hard, I mean, dang. Bad Kitty Vortex says, right? I mean, at least try. I cannot get a grasp on f-stops and exposures and all that, no matter how hard I try, but you can get some amazing surprise pictures even with the spray and pray method. But that still takes effort, which is, I suppose, too much to ask for from this family member. Also, most contests like that have it right there in the rules that the piece submitted must be entirely your own. Something happened between my husband and my best friend. What do I do now? So we, 37 female and 39 male, have been together for 15 years, married for 12, and we have 4 kids. We've always had a wonderful and loving relationship and have both been amazing partners to each other. My mum is not doing well health-wise, and I flew out to her with our youngest on Friday morning, and we will be flying back tomorrow night. A few hours ago, my best friend called me crying and said that she got into a major fight with her husband after she found he cheated and asked if she could come over. She had forgotten that I wasn't in town, and I talked to her for a little while and tried to calm her down. I also called my husband, explaining the situation, and asked if it was okay for my best friend to spend the night in our guest room, and he was fine with it. I took our iPad with me to keep our youngest entertained while at my parents' place. It's logged into my husband's Apple ID email, so his messages and calls show up on it. When I went to put it on charge, I saw tens of messages from my best friend to my husband. I found it strange since they were supposed to be under the same roof, and I knew that it was wrong to snoop, but I ended up reading the messages anyway. Long story short, something happened between them, my husband kicked her out, and my best friend wants to keep whatever it is a secret, but my husband says that I deserve to know. I don't know what to do or think now, and I have no one that I can talk to about this. What am I supposed to do? In the comments, the boss 6200 says, at least he wants to tell you about it. You should call him and ask him what it is that you deserve to know. It might just be that she made a move on him and he got mad and kicked her out, but contact him now. Same. She's just been cheated on and she likely wanted revenge, but in her distress, she picked the nearest man to her, just made more of a mess of her life. Completely valid reason to cut her out. Also, if OP values the friendship, she has room to be understanding without looking foolish since her husband is loyal. She 100% owes him a huge high five. I would personally understand and forgive, but keep her at an arm's length for years, if not forever. Just because I understand doesn't mean that I'm going to give you access to my personal life again. About the husband, yes, loyalty is expected and mandatory. No, that doesn't mean that most people wouldn't take low-hanging fruit if offered. He isn't like most. That itself deserves acknowledgement since you saw it in practice before your eyes. Having verifiable proof that your partner won't play you, even if they reasonably could get away with it, is worthy of celebration. Not necessarily because he deserves a treat, but because you know that you were truly safe with your back turned. If he kissed her or something, then he can go get screwed though. Just tell him the truth. You went to use the iPad and his text popped up. What happened? I think your husband is honest and your best friend did something inappropriate. I can only assume that she made a move. Maybe she didn't forget that you were out of town, or maybe she was really upset and thought that she would seek comfort from your husband. Regardless, he wants to tell you something, and she wants to hide it. It must not be good. He may be struggling with how to tell you. He probably doesn't want to hurt you, but knows that you should know. Do him a favor and tell him that you saw the text and to tell you what happened. He probably hasn't called her because she is away taking care of her mum and he doesn't want to pile on to the stress right now. Otherwise, I agree, seems like a good dude that did the right thing. Her best friend, and also she's dealing with her mum's health crisis. I agree that these messages sound like the most likely scenario is that she came on to him and he shut it down and kicked her out. Yeah, tough situation, but really, I feel like you got the green light here to just straight up call him and be like, what the hell's going on? What happened with the friend? What do you need to tell me? Sounds like he's one of the good ones that did the right thing in this situation and kicked her ass out, because what the hell is she doing trying to get him to cheat as a revenge bang? Just go on Tinder. What's wrong with you? Oh yeah, let me just irreparably damage my friend's relationship because I'm emotional and upset right now. Really smart best friend you have there, OP. Jesus. And now, on to the updates. You guys were right. I wanted to have the conversation face to face and waited till I got back a few hours ago. We talked after we had dinner and all the kids went to bed. After my now former friend showered and freshened up, my husband gave her leftovers from dinner and they talked about her husband and the situation with her husband, and out of nowhere she tried to sit in his lap and tried kissing him, and my husband pushed her off and she tried again and he told her that she had to leave. My husband admitted that he was tempted to call me late last night, but didn't want to add more to my plate while I was with my mum and wanted to physically be there when he told me. I've talked to her since, and she's back at her place and her husband is not there. She has been very apologetic and is saying that she wasn't in the right headspace and made a mistake trying something with my husband, and is begging me not to break apart our friendship. To be honest, I feel bad for her, but she knows how much I love my husband and my family, and she was willing to ruin everything, and I can't forgive that or rationalize it. In the comments, Extension Accident says, "It's nice to read that someone didn't automatically cheat and cared what happened with their marriage. I've read too many cheating stories on Reddit and have become too cynical. OP and her husband handled this maturely. A good husband. Very bad friend. Friend was jealous of OP's relationship and her good husband and wanted to destroy what they had too. It may have been revenge on the ex, but it was also 100% designed to destroy OP's relationship too. I've been distraught, I've been grieving, I've been heartbroken, but never have I ever tried to bang my friend's husband. And the fact that the ex-friend was trying to get your husband to not tell you about it is effed up. I've had several friends whose husbands had affairs. In every case, it was with the wife's best friend. Sure, she's like your BFF and you're like sisters, yada yada, but she also knows your weaknesses and all about any possible fracture lines in your marriage. Trying to bang your best friend's husband isn't something that just happens because you're not in the right headspace. She couldn't help herself. She needed an emotional support infidelity. This is the problem with emotional support genitals. They don't have to be registered, and many people are abusing the privilege. That's funny. With her behavior, she basically sexually assaulted OP's husband, and OP and the husband really need to get this girl out of their lives. She's nothing but trash. Oh my god, I didn't think about the sexual assault aspect of it. With friends like her, who needs enemies? Glad that the husband didn't fall for it, kicked her out, and wanted to tell OP in person. Yeah, absolutely. That's someone that you do not have in your life. That was pre-planned, premeditated. There's no way that that was a mistake. Oh no, I just sat on his lap twice and tried kissing him. Just a little bit of SA. Come on, it wasn't that much SA, OP. You have to understand. Just gross. Just gross behavior from her all around. I don't want to be that guy, but with behavior like that, you gotta wonder why the husband cheated on her, huh? Really just boggles the mind that some people will do such disgusting things to their best friend's husband. Like, so gross. Thank you for sharing the story with us, OP. I hope that your life gets better now without her in it. And, if there's more updates, I'd love to read them. Our next post is by user OrdinaryCoach2652, titled, "Am I the asshole for flirting sexually with a quote-unquote young co-worker? Hi everyone, I'm a bit shaken up and feeling really down right now, so I hope that you can help me. I'm a 52-year-old man, and I've always considered myself to be a kind and respectful person. I've worked hard all my life, I'm generally well-liked by those around me, and I try to treat everyone with the same kindness that I'd want in return. I've never been one for drama or conflict, and I've always prided myself on being a gentleman. I'm bisexual, and I've known that for many years. It's something I'm comfortable with. though I don't shout it from the rooftops. Recently, I've found myself growing close to a coworker of mine, who is a 38-year-old man. We've worked together for a while, and over time, our friendship has developed into something more, well, flirtatious. At first, it was just some playful banter, harmless jokes, and light teasing, but as time went on, the flirting became more obvious. We shared a few lingering glances, inside jokes, and even had a couple of moments that felt electric, if that makes sense. One day, in the heat of the moment, we even kissed. It wasn't something that we planned, it just happened, and I'll admit, I enjoyed it. Since then, our flirting has taken on a bit of a spicier tone. We'll occasionally exchange dirty notes, hold hands under the table during meetings, and at times when we are alone in the office or teacher's lounge, he'll give me a smack behind. It gives us both a good laugh, and at times perhaps make us a bit shy sometimes. It feels mutual, and I've always been careful to ensure he's comfortable and that I'm not crossing any boundaries. But the other day, I was talking about this with a close friend of mine, and I brought him up, feeling a bit giddy and in love. She immediately became angry and started yelling at me. She called me a pervert and accused me of taking advantage of him because of the age difference. She even suggested that I was being predatory, which absolutely crushed me. I've never seen myself in that light, and it hurt deeply to think that someone else might. Now, I'm left questioning everything. I genuinely care about him, and I've never wanted to make him feel uncomfortable or pressured. I don't see our age difference as a big deal, but maybe I'm blind to something here. I thought our connection was mutual, but am I actually in the wrong? She sounds like she's been reading too much Reddit. I'm gonna be completely real with you. Oh no, I groomed a 38-year-old man? Crazy that, huh? Edit 1. I'm not in any place of higher power. 2. This is my first kind of relationship I've had in years. I'm not too much online, I guess, and I'm not so sure about these things apparently. I've kept out of relationships due to some toxic ones in the past, and I guess I'm quite insecure and scared to do something wrong. And 3, I realize I made it sound like we do a lot at our place of work, which we absolutely do not. It's the occasional thing, but when it happens, we're alone, and we've tried to keep stuff out of work. In the comments, Kindly Celebration 223 says, "He's almost 40. Who preys on a 40-year-old? Even if it was a 38-year-old woman, the age checks out. Not the asshole. But maybe don't do that stuff at work. Can you see him outside of work? Even then, some places frown on it, and it could get messy, so CYA. But as far as the age difference, it is okay." I think your friend is kind of a homophobe because 38? Really? This person can make their own decisions, but definitely don't do that stuff at work. Make plans outside of work. Lol, at 38, he's old enough to know what he likes. You're not a predator or a creep. It sounds all consensual to me. The older you get, the less age difference matters. And yeah, 38 is definitely an age when someone isn't young and naive anymore. Are you in a position of power over him? Like his boss, etc.? If not, then just go ahead, but beware the drama of dating a coworker. If you are, you might have to choose between him and your job. There are other jobs out there, I'm sure. Genuinely don't know what your friend was thinking of there because this is not an example of a problematic age difference. Bro sees any number that gets to double digits and goes, "Oh my god, my 80-year-old grandma cannot be dating that 68-year-old man. She is assaulting him. She's groomed the 68-year-old. He's so young and innocent." How do people like her actually operate in real life? How do they get up in the morning and, go about their day? There could be groomers around every corner that are double digits higher than you, looking to prey upon you, you poor 38-year-old woman. Who knows what could happen, but regardless, not the asshole for this one, OP. She is over-exaggerating the situation. I would keep a distance from her and her opinions. Some people, like me, just have the worst takes on everything in life, so take what we have to say with a grain of salt. And now, on to the updates. So much has happened since my last post. Hi everyone, I'm back with an update. First off, I want to thank everyone who took the time to read and respond to my previous post. The support and advice were truly comforting and eye-opening. I've been through quite a whirlwind since then, and I feel like I owe you all an update. After reading your comments and reflecting on my situation, I decided to take the plunge and be honest with my coworker Quinn about how I felt. It was a bit nerve-wracking, but I knew that I needed to act on what I was feeling. So on Wednesday, just a few hours after posting, I asked Quinn out on a proper date. To my delight, he agreed, and we went out for dinner at a cozy restaurant that we both enjoy. The date was absolutely amazing. We talked, laughed, and just genuinely enjoyed each other's company. There was a palpable chemistry between us, and it was clear that we both felt it. Things went very, very well, and by the end of the night, we both knew that we wanted to make this official. So we started officially dating. One of the highlights of the evening was when Quinn playfully started calling me his Wolverine. He said that I give off this rugged vibe that he finds irresistible. I must admit, I don't see myself in the same light as Hugh Jackman, but it was a huge confidence boost to hear him say that. We both had a good laugh about it, and it felt wonderful to have that playful and affectionate connection. Now, onto the more difficult part of this update. I decided that it was time to confront my friend about her reaction and the things that she said. Quinn had encouraged me to address the situation directly, and so I did. When I confronted her, she initially tried to defend her position, but things took a surprising and distressing turn. During our conversation, she admitted to being in love with me. This revelation was shocking, especially since she is even younger than Quinn. I was taken aback to say the least. The situation quickly escalated when she attempted to kiss me and then reached down my pants. I was so stunned and horrified that it took me a moment to react. I finally managed to push her away, but not before she had gotten her hand inside my underwear for a few seconds. Her behavior didn't stop there. As I pushed her away and left, she began screaming homophobic slurs at me. It was a shocking and painful experience. It became clear that she was using the age gap excuse to mask her own homophobia, which many of you had predicted in your comments. Her actions left me deeply shaken and triggered some past PTSD that I thought I'd managed to keep under control. The entire experience has been incredibly distressing. I've been trying to process everything and support Quinn as we navigate this new phase of our relationship. Despite the turmoil, I'm grateful for the positive support and the strong connection that I now share with Quinn. Thank you all for your support and for helping me to see things more clearly. I'm continuing to work on my own healing and trying to focus on the positive aspects of my life. Your kindness and understanding have meant a lot during this challenging time. Take care, everyone. In the comments, Boltindidist says, OP got sexually assaulted. If he has a shared friend group with her, I hope he gets ahead of this with them. Otherwise, she's gonna make trouble. I agree. Sounds unhinged, so Lord only knows what bullshit she would tell people. I know it's hard to talk about, but confronting that now will be easier than OP later dealing with people who were told that he assaulted her. When she freaked out and yelled at him for robbing the cradle with a 38-year-old, I thought she sounds psychotic. I would stay the hell away from her. 38. Bro is 38 being infantilized. You have to laugh. Fellas, is it predatory to enjoy consenting relationships with middle-aged adults? I would answer this honestly, but I'm 47, and you might be like 33, and I really just can't do any time in jail right now. That's true. Man, I could be a predator as a 47-year-old. You might be under the age of 33. Pushing 30. Oh, man, the jail time I'd serve for that one would be crazy. I swear to God, if you say 38 is middle-aged, I'm just gonna go get a nursing home residency and wheelchair tomorrow. That's it, guys. 38-year-olds, pack it up, you're done for. You know, death's door is slowly beckoning you closer and closer. You will have a hunchback. You will be groomed by 51-year-olds. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. Apparently OP's homophobic psychotic friend does. I don't really know what you do with a friend like that besides kick him to the curb, but I hope that OP can have some recourse, at least ruining her socially, if they share any friends. But what a twist, huh? Some people never fail to just be even more disgusting than they initially appear. Christ. Good riddance to get rid of her, and thank you for sharing the story, OP. Our next post is by user ThrowRA Red the Rup, titled, Every time we, 25 male and 26 female, go out to eat, she orders something exotic and hates it and then expects to switch meals with me. She sees this as quirky, and I'm about to leave her. It is so frustrating. What are some solutions? Maybe I'm making too big of a deal out of this. Maybe it is a big problem and that's why I'm posting here. This has been going on since we've dated in college. I'll use last night as an example. I'm always a safe order guy, meaning I get chicken tenders, steak, a burger, orange chicken, etc. My dad made an orange chicken once, and we've never forgiven him for screwing that one up. For me, orange chicken is not a safe order anymore. That was the most disgusting meal ever. It's not that I dislike other food. It's that if I'm doing something crazy, I want to buy it, prepare it, coke, and serve it. And cook it. Don't forget the cooking outside of the coke. Be in control of the whole process. She always orders the special, the catch of the day, the taster's menu, etc., and she invariably says, "I don't really like this. I should have just ordered what you got. Let's switch." And she grabs my plate. Sometimes I'm able to eat her food, sometimes it's really bad, and then I go hungry. I've brought this up with her, and she has upfront told me that she thinks that it makes her quirky and fun. And I've known this since dating her. Sounds more like annoying and delusional to me. Last night, we went to a sports bar after our league beach volleyball game, and we were starving. I just wanted food, so I ordered chicken tenders and fries. This dingy sports bar was having a snow crab special, which of course she wanted. Oh god, this sports bar snow crab, say it ain't so. I begged her to please just order something they couldn't mess up, and she accused me of being so boring. The food came, her crab legs looked, smelled, and tasted like they were rotting wax, and of course she didn't want it, and wanted my tenders. I finally stood up for myself and said no. She could send them back and order her own food. Cue massive fight. She accused me of wasting food, of not cooperating with her, and not reading the room, whatever that meant. I told her that no, I was not doing it this time. She started crying and demanded to go home. I said no, I was so hungry, I was eating my food. I think she got an Uber to a friend's house and I have not seen her since. I'm fed up. Is this breakup worthy? And what should I do about this? Edit, we are engaged and live together. We also share credit cards and bank accounts. In the comments, she sounds insanely entitled and has the mentality and temper of a 4-year-old. Why would anyone date someone like that? Well, because she's quirky and fun. Seriously though, she needs to act like an adult. I'm very Joey doesn't share food, and if someone pulled this shit with me and expected me to let it slide because they thought that it made them quirky and fun, I'd be gone. She sounds annoying AF, extremely entitled, and also very slightly psychotic for expecting OP to go hungry, all because she's playing the part of a quirky, fun, and adventurous foodie. I expect this has more to do with her testing his limits than just food, as evidenced by her blowing up when he suggested, quite logically, that she order something else. It's like she wants him to suffer to prove how endearing he finds her. OP says, to be fair to her, I don't think she expects me to go hungry. In fact, I'll bet she's never noticed if I finish her meal or not. Well, that's telling if she doesn't even notice. Makes you wonder what else she isn't noticing about you in the relationship. OP says, I don't want to sound like a crybaby because I've made a choice with her, but yes, I do more of the labor in the relationship. It's only quirky and fun if she eats what she effing orders. I realize you already know this, but why in the hell should you have to give up your food because of her bad gamble? At the core of it, it seems like a let's see how much of my bullshit he will indulge test. I would say no more would be the correct answer. You haven't seen her since? I suspect she'll be back in touch, and you can give her an opportunity to apologize, but that shit is unacceptable. She owes you an apology, and I sort of doubt that you're going to get one. And OP says, your second paragraph was what I felt for a long time put into words. Thank you. If she's the one labeling it quirky and fun, it isn't. I get wanting to try something, but she needs to order her own food. Who pays the tab? OP says, I mean technically we both do since we have shared credit cards and bank accounts. I think you should unshare those credit cards and bank accounts because I'm seeing a few red flags pop up here. I just want to know how you managed to hold in all of these feelings and not explode to the point that you were able to get engaged to this person and you willingly wanted to be engaged to them. Like, how did this not piss you off enough that you're like, can we stop doing this? Can we have a proper adult conversation about your eating habits and how it affects me? Obviously, there's a lot of other things that surround this, and it's not just the Iranian yogurt. I get that. This is an amalgamation of lots of different things happening in your relationship that have manifested in this one straw breaking the camel's back, and I don't know if this sinking ship is going to be able to float again. And now, on to the updates. I don't remember the exact timeline of how things went down on Sunday as far as me posting, but Original was locked when she texted me at 6 p.m. telling me that I owed her a huge apology for the way that I behaved at the sports bar and the volleyball game. I still don't know what that's about. I asked her where she was. She said she would tell me when I apologized. I said I was not going to apologize. She said she needed some time to think whether this relationship was right for her. I told her that I was just so exhausted by so much of what she does that I just couldn't do it anymore. She hung up, and I haven't heard from her since. She hasn't even been by to pick up a change of clothes, so I don't know where she is. I cancelled all my credit cards we shared, and opened a new bank account and took half out of our shared, but she hasn't taken any money out or used her debit card. So I guess I'm a little concerned since for all effects and purposes, she has disappeared. I'm not too worried now, but if I haven't heard anything by Friday, I will call her parents. I kinda think that she's doing this disappearing act for attention. In the comments, Katie McDonald says, wait, so to sum this up, she ignored your reasonable requests to order food that she knows she'll like, publicly threw a fit when you wouldn't give up your own meal despite being warned that that is what would happen, yelled, stormed out, and has been MIA for days over a meal that she could have easily sent back herself? Holy drama, bruh. Like, wow, bullet dodged, huh? Can you imagine a whole lifetime of ridiculous public tantrums over easily resolvable stuff? Yikes. OP says, well, the meal and whatever it is I did to make her mad at the volleyball game. Text her to pick up her things by X date, or you will have it sent to her parents. I think she is doing this for attention, and all the more reason that you were right to dump her. Tell her parents that you broke up, and she has not been in contact. Tell them that she did not tell you where she was, but could they check on her? Don't wait on that. The sooner you do, the sooner you can get her out of your life. And OP says, okay, I can do this. Probably a good idea. And OP made a final edit. I called her parents. They haven't heard from her either, and me calling them now has them worried because they thought she was with me. I'm gonna drive her important things over to their house and wash my hands of her. Whatever happens to her is of her own making at this point. I think you're right about seeking attention. No offense, but your significant other seems like she's used to getting what she wants and throws a tantrum if she doesn't. And disappearing like this is a really mean thing to do. Imagine you did that to her, especially after you were married. Or imagine her doing this if you have kids. Taking a break is reasonable, but disappearing like this isn't. So maybe you need to rethink this one-sided relationship. She seems very immature, demanding, and doesn't seem to care about your feelings or concerns. Last word of advice, the personality problems rarely get better as a result of a marriage. Usually they get worse. Are you prepared for 40 to 50 years of this? It's good that he dumped her, but I wonder what she would have done if he started ordering the exact same food as her to see how she would react to not being able to switch. She'd switch to, oh, if you're having it, then I'll just try some of yours. I'll order a burger instead. Then they both flip back and forth until their servers give up on them. There are many stories I read on Reddit where I wonder how in the world the OP put up with the craziest shit. This isn't the craziest shit, but it's crazy how long he seemed to let it go on for before putting his foot down. Probably like the frog in boiling water, he just lived with each little thing building up until one day he snapped with absolute reason. To be fair, he didn't even snap, he just finally said no. It was her that lost her mind over it. What an infuriating person, but I also kinda wish the OP gave a final update, because damn, that final edit is a little bit concerning. I know a few people like that, and my bet is that she's hiding on purpose so that OP regrets it. Totes. She's hiding and being a shithead. She's waiting for him to beg for her back. And King, you gotta keep that crown from slipping. You gotta not fall for her dirty little tactics. You will not be manipulated. I promise you that. You're a good, strong OP, and she will not win. If she wants to go disappear and do God knows what, that is completely up to her at this point, because thank God OP has cut all ties. Crying over the fact that OP finally said no to you? What an insanely babyish thing to do. Good riddance to good trash. As always, thank you for sharing the story with us, OP. That was quite an entertaining read, I won't lie. Am I the asshole for asking my partner to help with household chores at my place, even though he also has his own apartment? I, 42 female, have been together with my partner, 36 male, for over a year, and the relationship has been pretty drama-free so far. For the past 6 months, he's been spending roughly 6 out of 7 days at my place with me and my kiddo, 6 male, from a previous relationship. We mostly hang out here because I have to be there for the kiddo and because he has roommates and I don't. To be clear, I love having him around. A few months after he started spending so much time here, I asked him to start helping with the household chores, though only ones which he contributes to. Cleaning and garbage, or from which he benefits, laundry and cooking and use of my car. I do the great majority of all work associated with my son, as well as the majority overall in the household. Really, I only ask that he does the garbage, helps with the car since he uses it, and helps with the occasional deep cleaning. He agreed initially, but asked me to ask him directly to do these things, which I do. I've even started making lists. However, he often forgets or puts them off for so long that I end up doing them myself. His argument for not doing chores is that he also has to maintain his apartment and also is making a sacrifice by not being at his place where he can pursue his hobbies. So, his contribution, in effect, is that he is here. Just to be clear, we both work full-time, work from home, split mutual costs evenly, and money is not the issue. Things blew up yesterday after I had a hard day at work and with the kiddo. He's in the process of changing jobs and doesn't have much to do at work, so he's been gaming 6 to 8 hours a day this week. I found it really frustrating that I was struggling to get the laundry and cooking done in between juggling the kid and work, and he was gaming on the couch all day. He got angry when I brought it up. I could have been a little less snarky, and said that I don't acknowledge the sacrifice that he is making by being at my place, and that the benefit he gets from my work is negligible, since I would have to do laundry and cook for myself and my son, even if he wasn't here. Since the problems we are having are roommate problems, and not romantic partner problems, I suggested we go back to dating so that we can each have our own space, and he can pursue his hobbies at his place. He got really angry, and he accused me of trying to end the relationship. So am I the asshole? In the comments, JSJ34 says, not the asshole. He lives in your home 86% of the time. Therefore, he should be doing 43% of the cooking, washing up, cleaning, and hoovering in areas that he uses, and taking out garbage bags, etc., minus the cleaning up after your son part. But most partners would share in that or help your son do what he can if the child is still up when he is there. Boyfriend is benefiting from having meals cooked for him and a clean, warm house that he is living in most of the time without any adult responsibilities and effort. He's using your utilities and home as if it's a maid service hotel. He has his feet well and truly under the table here with on-site maid and chef, and is hoping that you haven't noticed. What he said about how lucky you are that he's staying there is bunkum, as he's free to go home. I think your plan of his returning to his own place more and living there is spot on. When he comes over, he takes turns to cook and clean up kitchen or doesn't come over for dinner. He does his own laundry at his own home and doesn't use your car nor get girlfriend taxi service. He takes his showers at his own home or he takes turns in cleaning the shower and bathroom. Use it, clean it is my motto. When I was dating, and my then boyfriend, or boyfriends over time, came over regularly, even for an evening, they brought food, helped cook or cooked for me, and washed up. I washed up if they cooked. Take bin bags out when it was getting full, and even mopped after I hoovered the kitchen. Just to be helpful, as they weren't interested in sitting around whilst I did all the work. I certainly didn't do their laundry. OP says, "Thank you for your comments. I appreciate your perspective. For me, it's obvious that if you contribute to the mess, you contribute to cleaning it. Even when I'm a guest at someone's house, I feel uncomfortable if they're working and I'm not. I understand that not everyone grows up with this expectation, but we've talked about it multiple times, and I just don't know what else to do. I've expressed before that not having a partner contribute equally is a hard limit for me. This isn't something that I can imagine long term. Thanks for confirming that I'm not the only one who sees it this way. Not the asshole. Everything you're saying is a good reason to push him back to his own place. But ask yourself, OP, would things be different if he gave up his apartment? Probably not, since you still have to cook and clean and do laundry anyways. Is this the kind of relationship you want? Another kid?" And OP says, "Thanks for your perspective here. I appreciate it. He claims that he would take more responsibility if it was our shared space, but I'm not willing to make such a move if I don't have the feeling that we will share household burdens equally, so he will never get a chance to prove it even if that is the case. Thanks again." OP responds to multiple comments regarding her boyfriend sacrificing when he is at her place. OP says, "Apparently having all this stuff around so he can pursue his hobbies. His guitar he could bring, but honestly, I don't have space for his gaming PC or huge TV. He has his PS5 here and uses my TV, and his tablet and gym stuff is here as well. I don't really buy this excuse 100%. I don't give up all my hobbies and spend time with him, and would never expect him to do so for me. That's not healthy. I miss him when I don't see him, but it also gives me time for self-care and individual times with kiddo, which are important, so it's not like I'm insisting that he be here all the time. Maybe he misses having his own space, which I could understand, but I would never be angry for him to need some time by himself. I can keep myself busy." A 36-year-old man who lives with his roommates, spends most of his time hanging out at his girlfriend's place, where he has to do minimal effort, has a gaming problem, and becomes defensive when you point out even a bit of this? I'm sorry, OP, but please ditch this waste of space as quickly as you can. I understand that you enjoy the companionship, maybe even need it, but at what price? Do you want this as a role model for your son to grow up with? If you cannot yet let go of this romantic connection, I think dating and just occasionally meeting is not a bad plan. Over time you'll get stronger and have a better view of what fits in your life or doesn't. This advice comes from a mother of 3 who spent a considerable amount of years with a waste of space, trying to find excuses and explanations, and now bitterly regrets the time and effort spent. Not the asshole. Yeah, no, you're definitely not the asshole for asking him to help out with the household chores. That's the bare minimum, is it not? I'm surprised you've been able to put up with it for so long and see his excuses of him saying, "Oh, but I could be doing my hobbies. I'm actually sacrificing for you," as legitimate? I don't know, how have you convinced yourself that that's a legitimate excuse? You're just his live-in bangmaid that's doing everything for him at this point, where he has to be reminded of those things. He's how old? And you're how old? He's getting away with murder here, and I feel like you're allowing it, so, enforce boundaries and put a stop to that shit. And now, onto the update. Hi all. I wanted to give a quick update because I really appreciate all the thoughtful comments that came in. They really helped me to clarify my own position. Also, the events of the past few days have blown my mind, though in a positive way. No, nothing at the level of me checking his phone and finding out that he's cheating. We had a long talk yesterday concerning what had happened and where we saw potential conflicts. Throughout the conversation, I felt very frustrated because I didn't feel that I was being heard and understood. His comments largely revolved around me needing to ask him, which I was understanding as him shrinking the mental load of household chores. At some point, I mentioned that I had asked him repeatedly to take out the trash, and he hadn't done so. He disagreed and told me that I'd only asked him once. We disagreed on this back and forth for a while until it occurred to me that aside from my initially asking him to take out the trash, I had never directly asked him to do so. I had implied that the trash was looking full, I had commented on the swarm of fruit flies, I had looked pointedly at the full trash can, but the only request he had actually understood was the direct verbal request that I had made. I had mentioned in the comments that we both suspected that he was on the spectrum, but I was unaware of what this really means. Him telling me to tell him was literally him telling me he doesn't understand non-verbal cues or implied messages, only directly formulated language. We agreed that we would work on getting him a diagnosis and helping him to find tools to understand what people are saying non-verbally, and I would work on really verbalizing my feelings more explicitly. I think this is a good move, not only for our relationship, but for him in general. Going through the world missing half the information that most other people seem to implicitly understand must be pretty scary. I'm sure this update doesn't fit the Reddit mold. The police were not called, there was no fistfight, but this change in perspective is blowing my mind. It makes me wonder how many other interactions I had where I assumed that people were being intentionally obtuse or lazy, but it was just that we were effectively speaking different languages. I'm not naive enough to think that a diagnosis will solve all of our problems, or that this might not later emerge as an incompatibility that we can't overcome, but I see it as an avenue to pursue a solution. I've also let him know that I will still call him out for being a lazy ass. I'll just have to do so very explicitly. So that's it. We will see where the journey goes from here. If anyone has had similar experiences, I would love to hear about them. In the comments, so he's still putting the full burden for housework and managing it squarely on your shoulders. This is not the victory that you seem to think that it is. He doesn't want a partner, he wants a mother, and he has successfully convinced you that he doesn't have to step up at all. Autism is not an excuse for being a lazy slob, and you're doing the autistic community a serious disservice by buying that crock of bullshit. OP says, "Oh, I'm not that naive. If he doesn't step up on a continuous basis, I will be nagging. And since that is what he wants, I won't feel bad. But I'll be nagging not by making indirect comments. I will be stating directly that he should take the damn trash out now, because any implied comments or non-verbal communication will go over his head. So I'm not excusing him from doing chores. He has to do his part, but I'll feel no shame in speaking very directly about it." OP on needing to make better communications with her boyfriend. Just to be clear, there is no blaming me here. We resolved that. It's a difference in communications needs, and we are both willing to attempt to meet each other halfway. As I said, it's an attempt at resolving the situation and has helped me reevaluate my communication style. If it doesn't work, well, we can always break up after that. Quote, "We disagree back and forth for a while until it occurred to me that aside from initially asking him to take out the trash, I had never directly asked him to do so. This issue is not just due to him being on the spectrum. People who are not on the spectrum also expect you to say what you really mean, instead of hinting around and hoping they'll catch on. Well, she did ask once and he still didn't do it, which sort of raises the question of how many times she needs to ask directly. I will be nagging. Truly a victory in this allegedly adult relationship. I don't understand why OP thinks that's a great idea. I have an actual teenage son, and I don't nag him for things because I know that 1, he's not going to do something he doesn't want to do, 2, I'd only be making us both miserable. But then again, there's also the third thing. When I tell my son to take out the trash, he takes out the trash. Why tolerate this? He doesn't even live there. Like, kick him out and move on. Why have a second child in your home who needs to be asked to clean up after himself? Why tolerate it? Because some people would rather eat a pile of shit than be alone. Plain and simple. They'll put up with anything, sacrifice nearly everything, and will rationalize it all to hell and back just so that they can have a warm, farting body in their bed every night. Occasionally, this body rolls over and bangs them, or mouths "I love you" as maintenance, and that fills their pathetic little hearts. Well, all's well that ends well in that one. I do hope that she figures things out with this guy. Because yeah, I can see it's an explanation as to why he hasn't been pulling his weight, but it doesn't really justify his actions. I feel like this just is delaying the inevitable here. I would love to see another update in the future to see how they really resolved this one and if it got resolved at all. Thank you for sharing the story, OP. Our next post is by a deleted user, titled, I regret not absolutely ruining my life as a teenager. I, 31 female, should start by saying that I am insanely happy and love the life that I live now. I'm a mum to a beautiful daughter, with a husband who I love more than the moon and the stars, in a home that I own, in a town that I love. I am, by all measures, insanely lucky, and wanting to change anything in my past that would absolutely change it would be insane. But if I could go back and live my life from 14 to 20 years old, I would have done things much differently. I have been responsible and straight edge from the absolute very beginning, with any thoughts of rebellion squashed out of me by my two very well-meaning parents. I was a good student, never drank, never smoked anything, never snuck out at night. I didn't even have a curfew because I never gave my parents a reason to tell me to be home by a certain time. I was always at home. Even in college, I stuck rigidly to my track record of no alcohol or substances and graduated summa cum laude. I absolutely had a social life and amazing friends who were still in my life, but I never partied. Even when I'd moved past my parents' puritanical approach, I was too self-conscious of my appearance to really get out there and do something irresponsible. Looking back on myself in those years, that was such an unnecessary waste. So now, I fantasize about going back and doing everything that I was too repressed to do, but in the extreme. And I really mean extreme. Every substance, every party, every half-attractive man. Because my frontal lobe is fully developed, I know the scenarios I imagine and fantasize about in my head are wildly unsafe. And, in many cases, even illegal. And any of them would prevent me from having the amazing life that I have now. But I still can't help but want it. In the comments, Jingle is Dead says, I did that, except I'm a male so it was a little different. I almost ruined my life. Is there any way that you could get your thrills some other way? Do something rebellious, but nothing that's going to implode your marriage or your life. When you daydream about the person you wish you were, how far apart is that person from who you actually are? Could you do anything in those fantasies in a healthy way? I know that's not as thrilling as true teenage recklessness, but it may scratch the itch so that you aren't stuck fantasizing about this stuff forever. And for the record, life isn't a movie, as I'm sure you know. A lot of my friends from when I was younger are in prison, one is dead, anyone else is stumbling through life, and ironically, fantasizing about what you have. I know where you're coming from though. I think you need to stop looking back and start looking ahead. What are some things that you can do to add excitement to your life? I go skydiving every year, rock climbing, solo vacations to odd places. It keeps me feeling independent even though my life is similar to yours now. Find that thing for you and do it unapologetically. I know a girl that did this. She's absolutely miserable and is afraid that she'll never have a family. She messed up her perception of relationships and is unable to trust anyone because of her actions. Trust me, you won. You missed nothing. Her in 2 months? I want to feel young and free, so I started partying, cheated on my husband, and now I'm losing everything. I did the party life thing for a bit. It's not worth it. At 15, I was raising my sister's kids because she was drugged out. When I felt like my life had passed me by, I started partying. It's not as good as people make it out to be. Appreciate your family and find better ways to feel that excitement. Yeah, I think if you're feeling that way, OP, just go do something now that's gonna get that feeling out of you. Go do some drugs. Go have a crazy time, you know. Go do some ayahuasca if you want. That'd be a good fun trip to Colombia, huh? I understand that you want to get these feelings off your chest, but if you're going to feel so strongly about them, just go do something. That'd be fun to read about. Don't be a nervous Nancy who lets this opportunity float by again because, well, I missed my opportunity then. I might as well sit on my hands now and regret everything. And now, onto the updates. To clarify, I am insanely happy with my life right now and have zero, and I mean truly zero, urge to do any of these things in my 30s. The idea is that I wish I had rebelled when I was young, and being young is a part of the fantasy. I do not want to open up my marriage, have an affair, start partying, etc., but as such a suppressed teenager, I absolutely wish I had explored more, and over time, those thoughts became exaggerated fantasies. I shared this on the Off My Chest subreddit for exactly that reason. I wanted to get it off my chest, but the idea that I would blow up my life because of these thoughts feels insane to me. I have an amazing sex life with my husband. Subtle flex there, huh? We're adventurous and always trying new things. I smoke a little weed, have a glass of wine now and then. All of that is more than enough to scratch this itch, but I absolutely look back and think about what it would be like to just be young and stupid and completely free. Usually it's really bad, OP. I wouldn't recommend it actually. In the comments, Slobbery Puppy Kisses says, I don't think you regret not being reckless. I think you've spent so many years of your life setting yourself up for the future, and now that you're finally there, you're struggling to turn off the forward-looking mindset that you've become accustomed to. You're realizing that you've been unbalanced and wish you'd simply lived in the moment more. My advice, don't turn that obsession with the potential future into an obsession with the potential past. Find a way to be mindful, present, and appreciative. Therapy helps. OP says, this is actually so immensely helpful and true. I hadn't thought of it that way. Thank you so much. Already in therapy, and will definitely bring this up in the next week's session. So she's in her early 30s and realized her youth days are over for good and thinks about them? Normal. Can feel scary if you experience it, but normal. It sounds like she's reached the midlife crisis stage a little early. The quarter-life crisis. No joke, that's what it's called here. The last decade or two, a lot of people around 30 have been experiencing midlife crisis-like feelings. I think the inherent financial instability of being young has such a knock-on effect to every other part of your life and how it defines your future that these crises are coming earlier and earlier because you have to start chaining your nose ever so closer to the grindstone just to pay rent, let alone be able to prepare for a future. As a 30-something-year-old myself, I can confirm that our adult lives basically started on the wrong foot with the crash of 2008. I think that even before they became exaggerated fantasies, the OP's idea of what rebellion would be like was idealized. There's a lot of kids at keggers who are still bored, and nobody says, you know what I hope? I hope when I leave, I'll be puking out the pickup window. That's always fun. House parties used to be fun. Someone's parents would work outside of town, and it would be our regular spot. Yeah, the reason parties are great when you're a teenager is that you spend the rest of your time in places that you don't really want to be at. School, your parents' house, and work. Once you have a semi-nice place of your own, spending Saturday night in is a lot more appealing. Amen to that. I love spending Saturday night in at my place. I will do it every Saturday, and I recommend you doing it too. Protect your peace, people. Our next post is by a deleted user, titled, Am I the asshole for posting a heartwarming video of my friend? I, female 26, have a friend who I'll call Max, male 28, who has a foster child Dexter, male 10. Max is a foster parent, and has fostered Dexter for the last 3 years. Max and I aren't super close. His best friend is my sister, and my son and Max are good friends, but we're close enough that I was invited to party. Basically, I don't fully understand the whole fostering thing, but from what I do get is that Dexter has been upgraded from a temporary placement to a permanent placement with Max, though not adopted. Dexter will now not be moved away from Max and will not be given back to his real parents. Dexter requested this, but it had to be approved by the courts, which they weren't sure would happen because his real parents have been wanting Dexter back and have even threatened to kidnap him in the past. Last week, Max got confirmation from the courts that Dexter had been made permanent, along with a letter from the courts explaining this. Max decided that he wanted to throw a big surprise party for Dexter to announce this to him, and invited all of his close family and my sister. My son was also invited. Dexter came home from school and was shocked by everyone being there, and his reaction was super cute. Dexter was super confused as to why everyone was there, but Max told him that they just wanted to celebrate Dexter going into year 6. About halfway through the party, everyone went to sit down in the living room, like we were instructed, and Max started to read out a whole speech. The speech was really sweet and emotional, It spoke about Dexter when he first came to live with Max, how he grew and developed from a small boy scared of the world into a charming and outgoing little man. While reading, Max started to tear up, as did I and most other people listening. At the end of the speech, Max said how he had confirmation that Dexter is becoming permanent and will be living with Max forever, and said something like how he is so excited to be able to see Dexter grow into an adult. As soon as Max finished it, Dexter started to sob, ran to Max, and said something like, "I thought you were going to say that I had to leave." And they just held each other. It was an incredibly cute moment. Now, here is where the issue came. I am an influencer, I do family vlogs and family content on YouTube and TikTok. I have a decent following. Not like crazy big, but enough. I thought this was going to be a really cute moment that should be remembered, so throughout the celebration, I was recording Dexter. And I felt really lucky to have caught the speech and Dexter's little "I thought you were going to say that I had to leave" on camera. And I edited it, which took me ages, and posted it on my TikTok page. It was one of my best performing videos, which made me really excited. I sent the link to Max to show him, and I thought he would be excited too, but instead, he went absolutely insane at me. He called me screaming at me and demanding that I take the video down. Like, he was scary on that phone call. I initially was hesitant to take it down because it was performing really well, but after an hour, I took it down because he said he was going to file a takedown request on my whole account and the video if I didn't remove it myself. At this point, it had almost like 200,000 likes, which is huge for me. I don't think Max fully understands how big of an opportunity this was for me. Even though I calmly explained it, not screamed and yelled like he did, but he said he didn't care, and he wanted the video removed. So in the end, I chose to remove the video out of respect for him and my sister, and now my sister is refusing to talk to me. And my son was invited to go watch a movie at the cinema on Saturday this week, but Max is now saying they won't be going unless they can pick up my son and me not attend. Which will not happen, so Max is now excluding my son from meeting up with his friend, which is entirely unfair on my son. I honestly don't think that I'm the asshole, because all I did was post a cute, nice video of a sweet moment. I will be sending a link of this post to Max, so he can hopefully understand with help of the comments that he needs to apologize to me. In the comments, SiestaTime46 says, "You're the asshole. Let me repeat, you are the asshole. Never ever post photos or videos of someone else's child without permission, especially when someone has threatened to kidnap that child." You may have given away the location information that Max has worked assiduously to hide from the birth parents. Honestly, this is one of the stupidest things that I've read on Reddit, and your concern for only how many likes you got shows that you are a self-absorbed idiot. I hope to God this is fake. If that child is abducted, or worse, it is all on you. You're the asshole. You used a special moment between two people that you even said that you aren't that close with for your own benefit without their knowledge or permission. Also, given what you said about the child's parents threatening to kidnap him, putting this on social media, where it was subject to going viral and being shared all over the place, could pose a risk to Max and Dexter's safety. Yeah, not exactly wise from OP there. I feel like this is a situation you know all too well about, and you willingly putting the kid's safety in jeopardy is insane. Who cares about the likes and the fame? Yeah, man, it was a good trade-off for when I got that kid kidnapped. Totally worth it to have one video pop off on TikTok. That was a good trade-off. I would do that again and again. That's what you sound like, OP. Please go find some real morals, because the ones that you've showed us, I think you found in a dumpster, and they're a bit rotten. You're definitely the asshole for that. I don't get your argument here. And now on to the updates, a response from Max. "I'm Max, the person mentioned in this post. I wasn't planning on responding because honestly, posting about this again after being asked not to is incredibly immature. But I've had enough, and I think it's important to set the record straight so everyone can see how inconsiderate and careless you really are. First off, I've always been clear with anyone who meets Dexter that photos of him cannot be shared online without blurring his face. This isn't new information to you. I've explained it many times and even reminded you repeatedly after that you've posted pictures of him uncensored on multiple occasions. My fostering agreement explicitly states that no uncensored images of Dexter can be posted online. Violating this could put my ability to foster him at risk. He could be taken away from me, and yet you continue to ignore this. I even reiterated these rules at the party, encouraging everyone to take photos, but under no circumstances were they to be posted publicly without proper censoring. You were told, once again, not to reveal his face or mention our exact location, including the city. But what do? You go ahead and post a video with Dexter's face completely visible, along with the city tagged as the location. I don't know whether you're just being willfully ignorant or deliberately trying to provoke me. I've been lenient far too many times, because you're my best friend's sister and Dexter enjoys spending time with your son. But this is the final straw. You've endangered Dexter and breached his privacy. I had to threaten legal action just to get you to remove the video, and it's not like you didn't know the risks. His biological parents have previously threatened to kidnap him, and your actions have put him in jeopardy. Now I'm scrambling to fix the situation with his social worker. The worst part is, we don't know if it has been seen by his parents because it went so viral. Now, I'll admit, I did lose my temper with you, but after so many warnings, I was at my limit. I hope you take the negative comments from Reddit to heart and really reflect on why you keep doing this. Your overwhelming need to always be the center of attention is damaging your relationships with friends and family. This isn't just about a cute video, it's about your lack of respect for others' boundaries and the impact of your actions. I genuinely think that you should consider therapy to explore why you have this urge to prioritize your own needs for attention over the safety and privacy of others. Your son is still welcome at any future gatherings, but you'll need to arrange for him to be picked up by me or your sister. If you step foot on my property again, I will not hesitate to report you for harassment. Do not contact me again unless it's strictly regarding your son's arrangements with Dexter. I'm not responding again. I'll send you a link to this comment. Hopefully that will help you understand why you were such a tosspot. Am I the asshole for calling my parents selfish for having me, knowing they'd passed down a hereditary illness, and going low contact after they hid it, putting my child at risk too? I, 28 female, recently found out I have a serious hereditary illness that's going to screw up my life. And I am so mad I can barely type this out. It's a degenerative illness. No cure, nothing. My body's just gonna slowly get worse. And the kicker, my parents have known that this could happen my whole life and never said a damn word. This illness runs in my family. My dad's mum had it, his sister, my aunt, died from it a few years ago. I was living overseas when she passed, and my parents told me that it was cancer. Cancer. They lied right to my face. It wasn't until I got diagnosed that they finally came clean and admitted that she had the same illness I do. When I confronted them, my dad wouldn't even give me a straight answer. I asked if he had it too, and he dodged every single question, acting like I was overreacting. My mum, on the other hand, tried to justify it by saying they didn't want me living in fear. Are you kidding me? I could have been prepared. Instead, they chose to let me walk into this blind. And here's where it gets worse. I have a 2-year-old son. My child might have this, and they never told me that I was at risk. I could have had him tested, made informed decisions, anything. But no, they took that from me, and now I live in constant fear for him too. Then my mum had the nerve to ask me if I would rather not have been born than to deal with this. Can you believe that? She turned it around on me like I'm the monster for even thinking it. And you know what? Yes, I said it. Yes, I would rather not have been born than deal with this disease. They made a selfish choice, and now I'm paying for it. They knew the risks and did it anyway for themselves. They wanted kids, and now I'm stuck with this. I called them selfish, and I meant every word. Now they're begging me not to tell my younger siblings. They don't know about this yet, haven't been tested, and my parents want to keep it that way. They're hoping that they'll get lucky, but I'm not gonna lie to them. I refuse to let them be blindsided like I was. They deserve to know the truth. I've gone low contact with my parents. I can't stand to even think about them right now. My mum keeps trying to guilt trip me, saying they were just trying to protect me. Protect me from what? The truth? No, they weren't protecting me, they were protecting themselves from the guilt of knowing that they've passed this on, and now they want to protect them too. But I won't. I love my son and my siblings too much to lie to them. Am I the asshole for going low contact and refusing to keep their secret, even though they claim they were just trying to protect me? Not the asshole at all, OP. That's genuinely evil for them to do that. This is not even an ignorance or malice thing. This is straight malice. What they've done is straight evil, and there's no sugarcoating that. Your parents make me want to throw up. They are disgusting pieces of shit, and anyone that does that willingly to kids is a disgusting piece of shit as well. They also have no remorse. They don't care. They just want to keep the charade going. Screw them. Absolutely screw them. I know it's stupid given well, there's no precedent for that, but I think there should be criminal charges for this kind of negligence from your parents. Willful negligence. In my heart of hearts, I want to see them go to jail for this. In a perfect world, you never have to deal with this disease. In a just world, you're told from the start and given tools to deal with this disease, and they stole that from you. Your parents deserve less than nothing, not the asshole. Father of 347 says, sounds like our family and Huntington's disease. We're praying that the last children that have it don't have any kids. It has decimated a chunk of my mum's side of the family. Huge Green says, I was just thinking that this is literally my life. Known history of family illness, parents took the gamble anyway, decided to have 4 children. I have 3 healthy siblings and I am going to die. My siblings have already taken measures to make sure that they will not pass this down. It ends with our generation. None of us in good conscience can have children. Parents didn't fess up until they'd already doomed one infant with the more aggressive form. Monstrously selfish. I will never forgive them. Edit, I do not have Huntington's, but Fanconi anemia, which of course you must inherit the gene. That is common in my community from both parents. I apologize for any confusion. Alternative Main says, I don't even know what to say. We're all going through it one day, but the way it's happening to you is horrible. I just hope you can find peace and have a restful life, as much as you still can. We'll all join you one day, brother or sister. I just wish you the best and that you can make the best of what you have right now. Take care, please. Gobbo Chomp says, not the asshole. My parents did the same to me, knowing, and I'm terminally ill at 24 years old from not being able to, or even having the knowledge to try to offset the effects of my conditions. It was selfish at all to breed, at least in my case, and not only that, but my parents kept me and everyone else in the dark about it. It wasn't even that I wasn't seeking care or answers. I've been very unwell and wonky all of my life, and started seeing doctors for it regularly by 7. By middle school, I was very aware something was very wrong, and doctors didn't know either, so would band-aid slap it all. I needed surgeries and treatments that I never got because everyone denied there was a bigger issue. My parents knew. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome type 4, the vascular, and Charcot-Marie tooth disease. My dad told me about the CMT disease maybe 7 or 8 months ago. The EDS type 4 was only found because they couldn't figure out why my organ failure was so rapid. And both parents knew. You're 100% not the asshole, and your parents are selfish as hell, OP. I'm sorry. I also would have rather never been born. I've been either hindered or in outright pain probably 97% of my life after 6 years old, and just told to suck it up by doctors while my parents implied that I was a big faker, knowing I was a genetic wonk. OK Meringue replies, this is legitimately horrific. Vascular EDS is horrid, and I can't imagine how sick your parents must be to not only hide that from you, but then gaslight you about your severe terminal illness. Yeah, this has got to be the most evil thing I've read in a while. How could their parents just sit there and watch their child suffer while having the answers all along? That's grade A pure evil right there. Back up to the post, edits, most of you figured it out anyway. It is Huntington's. Update: I ended up telling my siblings. We met at my sister's house, and I just came out with it. I have Huntington's, it's hereditary, you should both get checked out. My brother started panicking that he and his fiancée just started trying to get pregnant, and now he's terrified. He's furious with our parents and fully on my side. He confronted them right after, and now we're both going low contact. My sister was more shocked and distant, but said she'll get tested. My parents are pissed that I told them without waiting for the right time, but I don't regret it. My siblings deserve the truth, and I wasn't going to let them live in ignorance like I did. And now, onto the update. It just kind of rehashes what I just said. My brother looked horrified. He and his fiancée had just started trying for a baby, and the fear in his eyes was immediate. His fiancée, who works as a senior nurse in palliative care, didn't take it lightly either. She deals with degenerative diseases every day and had a family member die from one, so this news hit her hard. She immediately took control of the situation. She has a lot of connections in the medical field because of her work, and she's been pulling strings to get my brother's test done as fast as possible. She's also been making sure that I get the care that I need, reaching out to specialists that she knows personally. She's actually moving things around and calling in favors to ensure that I'm seen quickly. On top of that, she's been adamant that I need to see a counselor, pushing me to get emotional support. Given her experience, she knows how hard this is going to be, and I'm grateful that she's making it happen because I wouldn't know where to begin. My husband and I have also been having difficult conversations about the future. We've decided to make my will, and I've been clear with him about when I won't want to continue living if things get too bad. I've also started recording videos for my son. I've watched P.S. I Love You years ago, and the idea of leaving something behind for my husband and son feels like a way to hold on to a part of me. We're planning to speak to a child psychologist soon to figure out the best way to prepare our son for what is coming, though we haven't started yet, and also to weigh our option about him and the possibility of him getting the illness from me. We are not going to make an uninformed decision. On Saturday, our parents invited all of us over to their house, saying they wanted to talk. My sister came too, but she didn't stay long. As soon as my parents started explaining how they kept the illness hidden to protect us, she couldn't take it. She stood up, said she couldn't handle it, and left. She's been distant since, and it feels like I've lost her a little. I know she's terrified, but it still hurts to see her pulling away. After my sister left, everything exploded. My parents turning on me, blaming me for ruining the family, and accusing me of causing all this chaos by telling the truth. They kept saying they did it to protect us, but I just couldn't respond anymore. That's when my brother's fiancée stepped in. She completely laid into them, telling them that they had no right to keep something this serious from us. She told them they hadn't protected us, they had betrayed us. And I was so relieved that she stepped in because I didn't have the energy to argue anymore. Then my dad snapped. He started shouting at her, telling her to stay out of it, and he shoved me. I couldn't even react, I was so shocked. My husband immediately stepped between us, grabbed my dad's arm, and told him he better not touch me again. My dad just kept shouting, saying I was the one who was tearing the family apart and blowing everything out of proportion. Holy projection, Jesus. That was it. We left. My brother and his fiancée walked out with us, and since then, none of us have spoken to my parents. They've been calling, but I don't want to hear their excuses. They are still insisting that they did everything to protect us, but it feels like they were just protecting themselves from guilt. I don't have the energy for their manipulation anymore. Right now, my brother and I are focused on getting tested. His fiancée is doing everything she can to keep things moving forward. She's been an incredible support, and we're relying on her to help us navigate what is next. I'm focusing on my son, my husband, and preparing for the future. There is too much at stake to keep fighting about a secret that never should have been kept in the first place. Mikor says, I just saw your original post. I'm so sorry that your parents decided to hide this from you. I have a genetic condition that causes me to be quite disabled, and am currently struggling with the reality that I would never be able to live with myself if I passed it on. My mother spins the same excuses and turning it back onto me by asking if I'd prefer not to be born. For them to hide it and be so mad breaks my heart for you. Not only are you dealing with this new reality and diagnosis, but they are choosing to break down your support system and blame you? It's awful, and I'm so sorry you and your family are dealing with this. I'm so glad for your sister-in-law for taking charge. At least someone is making this easier for you and your family. Difficult Muscle says, that's the same sort of situation that I'm sitting on. I have a genetic condition that's not going to kill me, but it makes my life really effing uncomfortable, and since I was tested and came back positive, I've been debating back and forth whether to even have children, because I don't want my children to have to deal with this shit. It's painful, and it makes my life uncomfortable. Why would I want my kid to deal with this? Why would any parent have a child knowing you're passing something that's going to kill them slowly and horribly? They made an extremely selfish choice, and then are angry that the people who are having to deal with the consequences of their actions aren't happy. Opie and her siblings deserve better. Jaeger says, I work hospice, and a while ago, I had a patient who had a rare genetic disorder that can cause aggressive cancer that ran in his family. Both his parents and all of his siblings had already passed away from cancer. The wife was telling me that they were told not to have kids. Well, they had 3. One died at the age of 15 from cancer, one was 25 going through treatment, and the other kid had to be tested every 6 months. F those types of parents. How could you let your kids suffer? Tosha Kate says, a family friend had his wife die from cancer. They had 4 sons, youngest was probably under 4 to 5 if I remember correctly. Now 1 or 2 of his sons have died, 1 is dying, and I think had to have his thigh bone removed as a Hail Mary, and the last one doesn't have the markers and is okay physically. They didn't know until after the mum died, and possibly only by the first sick son after her death. The surviving ones would be in their early 40s now, but I think the one that died first was late teens and early 20s. Those parents too, I'm gonna die on that hill, those parents too, that intentionally had 3 kids that all died from cancer, send them to jail. That's sick, that's demented, that's twisted. They deserve punishment for those actions and to be made an example of. You can choose to starve your kids. They will die of malnourishment. You choose to bring a child into the world that you know is going to get aggressive cancer. They will die of that cancer. I think that's just such a sick and twisted thing for people to do, and I'm disgusted by that. The road to hell today is truly paved by sick, twisted, ignorant, and good intentions because they were just trying to protect them. Oh my god. Anyway, I'm glad that OP had that confrontation with their parents. I'm so sad that no breakthrough could happen with them, and they choose to live with their head in the sand still. You know, the only way that those parents can protect themselves from owning up to their actions is to constantly deny, deflect, and project. If they continue down that path and never come back to OP and apologize, I hope they spend the rest of their days miserable. That's all I'm gonna say. Those are 2 terrible people. Oh my god. Our next post is by user ThrowRA, no interest, titled, My 36 female, husband 33 male, hasn't been physical with me in 2 years. I'm running out of patience. Where to go from here? I'm 36 and my husband is 33. We've been together for 10 years and have no kids. We got married after 2 years together. A couple of years ago, he just seemed to completely lose interest in me physically. Nothing has changed in our lives, neither of us have put weight on, there has been no change in jobs or our home life that has put stress on us to make him lose interest. I don't think he's cheating, as he still leaves for work and comes home at the same time. Once a week, either he goes to his friends or his friend comes round to ours for a gaming night where they order takeaway and play FIFA. I'm at a complete loss. I've tried talking to him numerous times and he just says things like, all men aren't the same and want constant sex, or, as you get older, your sex drive slows down. I can't help it. I've suggested therapy, either individual or alone. I said I'd pay as I earn a lot more than him, but he says he doesn't need it. I've tried booking romantic weekends away. He has a good time and then just goes to sleep. I've bought sexy outfits and tried to entice him. I've worn clothes and had my hair the way he likes it. And I've even said to him, if you don't want to have sex, that's fine, but I can just give you blowjobs instead? And he said he's fine, but thanks. I've even offered him a threesome with another woman, but he said no. Our anniversary was last week, and I made him his favorite dinner, ran him a bath, gave him a naked oily massage, and I could see it was obvious he enjoyed it, but once I'd finished the massage, he just got under the duvet, turned his back to me and put his headphones in, watching something on his phone. I just laid next to him crying. This Saturday just gone, I went out for a friend's birthday. We were in the queue waiting to get into a club when the guy behind me started stroking my ass. At first I thought it was just the hustle and bustle of the queue, but then I felt both his hands squeezing my ass. I'm so ashamed, but it felt amazing. I never turned around and looked at the guy to see who he was, but I was backing up into him on purpose, letting him feel me up. When I got home, I felt such a mixture of glee and guilt. Then I got sad that this is what it's come to. I'm that lacking in physical touch, I enjoyed a creepy stranger. Is giving my husband an ultimatum on couples and/or individual therapy a good idea? I feel like I've exhausted every other avenue, and he just carries on oblivious to my needs. It's been 2 years since we last did more than kiss. I'm desperate. I'm surprised you didn't give him an ultimatum within 6 months personally, because I know I would, if intimacy dropped off to this degree and they were not willing to work on it, they did not communicate why this happened so suddenly. It would make me think that they are cheating, that they're getting their needs met elsewhere, because if the relationship was so solid on sex and intimacy before this point and then suddenly dropped off, that's not a you thing, OP. That is definitely a them thing. He is aware of the true reason as to why the intimacy shut off so fast and for such a long time, and he is lying to you. There is no way that he is not lying to you. He's also saying that he doesn't need therapy or counseling. To me, that says he's saying you need therapy and counseling to deal with the lack of intimacy that he's giving you, because he is unapologetic and does not want to work on a solution so that both of you are happy. I'd say give him the ultimatum, get love bombed, and then have him dip out after a week of love bombing, and then go through with your ultimatum after that. That makes sense to me. Frozen Robert says, there's something seriously wrong here. There is absolutely no way a healthy male at 33 should have virtually zero libido. Your situation is extremely bizarre. You've made significant efforts to revitalize your intimacy in countless ways, and he's not responding at all. He's not even trying. The fact that he's refusing to go to counseling is a major red flag. That's a giant warning sign. Shutting you down on this is a huge problem. I don't buy the health angle of this, to be honest. Sure, maybe he has extremely low testosterone, but I doubt it. Either he's checked out of this marriage emotionally, or he's got something going on behind your back. I personally know of 2 acquaintances who got married, maintained a veneer of normalcy with their wives, but stopped having sex completely. They explained it away with various excuses, but it turns out they were both gay and didn't have the moral fortitude to be truthful to themselves or their partners. It was too convenient to stay married, and they did so for years. The wives never caught on. Pretty sad in my honest opinion. I'm not saying that that is what's going on with your marriage, but I'd sure as hell tell your husband to show up to counseling, or your marriage is headed for the rocks. You really do deserve better. Plenty Persimmon says, has he had blood work or health checked? It can very well be low test or other health problems. At the very least, if he doesn't want to plow, he should at least get you off other ways. OP says, he's an incredibly fit guy who takes his health very serious, so I know it's not a weight or fitness issue, but he hasn't been for blood tests or anything that I know of. Angel says, takes his health seriously or takes his looks seriously. Early 30s is about the age most closeted gay guys will struggle to get it up for a woman. He doesn't need a doctor or a therapist, in my opinion, because he knows full well why he isn't interested. You are his beard. OP says, he takes both seriously. He eats very well and does a lot of running, cycling and swimming, but also does a lot of weightlifting. Absynthia asks, are you sure that he's not getting it from elsewhere? Usually that's the direct sign that something is wrong. And OP says, I don't know when he'd have the time. No one can say for 100% that they are certain, but I don't think he is. People always say, oh, but I don't know when they'd have the time to be doing that. They always have time, OP. There is always time to cheat. There is always time. You may not know it, but there definitely is. He is lying about something. Everyone that says, oh, well, he works with me at home all day, I don't know when he'd be able to do it. He's emotionally cheating on you, at the least. He's hiding a phone. He's doing something. And that goes for women too. Women can always find time for it. I'm not just hating on men. Equal rights, equal lefts, I say. And now, onto the update. I posted here last week and spoke to him about counseling and everything else the next day. He still wasn't feeling it and said he doesn't need it, he's happy, doesn't need sex, and feels no need to have to go to someone else to tell him he's normal. After hearing this, I thought that I'd keep asking and trying to talk to him for another month, and then if things aren't different, I'll tell him that I'm leaving. On Saturday, though, it all came to a head. I walked from the bathroom to our bedroom naked after my shower, as I had forgotten my clothes. He was still in bed, and as I walked into the room, he blatantly tried to cover his eyes. It broke me. I ran out of the room and started crying in the bathroom. It was so upsetting. I cried for maybe 2 hours, as all the hurt feelings and rejections of the last couple of years washed over me. He eventually came in to see me to ask if I was okay. I said no. He asked why, and I told him that I needed an answer in the next 5 minutes or I'm packing my stuff and leaving. I said whatever the answer is, we can work through it, but for my own sanity, I need to know. He didn't say anything, so I asked if he was gay or bi. He again didn't say anything, so I said to him if he is or he's curious, I'd be willing to let him explore that side of his sexuality and see what he prefers at the end of it. And he kind of nodded, and I thought I finally had my answer. Then he gave me the actual answer. He wasn't gay, he had cheated on me 2 years ago. And not just with anyone, it was a much younger, popular gym girl off Instagram. He showed me all the messages. He met her on a night out 2 years ago. She was in our town for a weekend for a hen do. She was 20 at the time. He recognized her and introduced himself as being a fan of hers. He goes to the gym every day, and I go maybe 4 times a week. I even follow her as she does great workouts, and I've even copied some of her routines. He said he showed her that he followed her, and she instantly followed him back. They went their separate ways, and then later on that night, she sent him a message and it was her hotel name and room number. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. That was the first message between them both. He said he went to her room and had sex with her. Then the next night, he made an excuse around midnight to go out and help his friend who had broken down and that they met up again and had sex in his car. Then the next morning, he said he was going out on his bike and he said they met at a park near his hotel and they had sex again half an hour before she had to leave. She was asking for his number at this point in the messages, but he was saying he can't because of his wife, and she replied saying she knows how to be discreet. I remember this weekend. I remember that night out, he didn't get in until 5 a.m, and I was so happy he'd had a good night out, as he'd been under a lot of stress at work. I remember his friend breaking down and him going out to rescue him as I helped him dig the jumper cables and tow rope out of the cupboard, and even made him a flask of tea to keep him warm. He says that they haven't met since, and their messages on Instagram seem to confirm it, as she's messaged him a few times saying she wishes they could meet again. It is always her who initiates conversations. One message was very descriptive of what she wants to do to him, and that was sent less than a month ago, so he must have made an impression on her. I asked why, if he only had a weekend of sex with her, he hasn't touched me since. He said that after being with someone so perfect, he can't get hard for me anymore. I sat there heartbroken and felt like I'd been stabbed in the heart when he said that. Then he wouldn't stop. She's so young, her body was tight, her tits are big but pert, her ass is big but tight, she had no stretch marks, her skin is perfect, her body is fully shaven. I felt so numb and like a fat, ugly, naked troll. I was too numb to even cry. I just sat there and then asked him to leave me alone, which he did. Neither of us have spoken to each other since Saturday morning. I don't know what to do. Do I leave? Do I work on myself to make myself attractive to him again? I think I should leave, but it seems a shame to throw it all away for a weekend of sex. Sounds ridiculous, but even though my confidence and my self-esteem has been shattered, I actually feel better for finally having an answer. Lisa Simone says, he is horrible. Leave him ASAP. Sweet Miss Alice replies, honestly, you need to leave him. He cheated and then had the audacity to compare you to her. That's messed up. You deserve someone who values you and treats you with respect, not someone who makes you feel less than. Don't waste any more time on this guy. Trixie Mason says, girl, what? Leave him. He is saying all this horrible shit and you want to work it out? He's telling you all the reasons in ink to leave him. And OP says, you're right, I know you are. It's just hard. The Lone Wolves replies, sounds like being with him is hard. It is already hard, might as well be hard, free, and happy. Equivalent Board says, that is so seriously effed up. He left you 2 years ago. He just didn't tell you. It's not just that he cheated, maybe you could get past that, but from then on, he checked out on being a romantic partner to you. That is an awful betrayal. It's understandable that you feel so hurt. This is not your fault. You haven't done anything wrong here. You are not ugly or fat or a troll. You aren't. Your husband is an asshole, and that's not your fault. These are his choices. When offered sex by a fit, healthy, keen sexual partner, he's preferring to remember and presumably masturbating to her photos and his memories. That is unhealthy. He left you years ago. It's time that you left him properly and take all of your awesomeness with you. He can continue to enjoy his memories without the benefits of all the things that you do for him. OP replies, he admitted that he can't even watch porn anymore because it's not as good as the memory of a weekend with her. You are right, I need to leave. Faith Seeds replies, she's just a random woman he screwed 3 times, and he's mistaking the adrenaline rush of cheating on you for some godly quality that she has. She isn't better than you, nor do I believe the porn thing. He's a moron, actually. Oski says, he put her on a pedestal. I'm willing to bet after 2 years of him remembering it as perfect, even being with her again wouldn't live up to what he thinks he had. OP deserves better than this clown. More responses from OP. It's stupid, but I feel bad leaving him. I earn a lot more than him and he wouldn't be able to live by himself if we split up, but at the same time, why am I paying for someone's comfort who doesn't respect me or want me? I need to grow a backbone. I hate how this has made me feel, because until he stopped touching me, I've always been pretty happy with the way that I looked. Now I can't even look in a mirror. When I have a shower, I cover the mirror in the bathroom. I've got mirror wardrobes in my bedroom, and I leave the doors open so I don't see myself. I am going to divorce him. Feeling like this isn't normal, and it's his fault. And OP on getting a lawyer and document everything, including screenshots of the messages, says, I sent myself screenshots of everything. And that's good, OP. That's exactly what you deserve. He's done nothing but hurt you, and then hurt you more to your face by comparing you and then being completely unapologetic about it. There was no shred of remorse in anything that he did there. It was all just to attack you and put you down. Jesus, what a disgusting human being he is as well. I'm glad that you are divorcing him. I'm glad that you got the evidence that you needed. I hope that you find someone that actually enjoys being with you and treats you like a human being and not as a disgusting person that they are disgusted by and always comparing to someone else. No one deserves that. Thank you for the story, OP. I very much appreciate you being so brutally open with us. Would I be the arsehole here if I don't allow my husband to donate sperm to his best friend's widow? My husband's best friend, Jake, passed away 4 months ago, leaving behind his pregnant widow, Lucy. Lucy has always been on the more fragile side and had previously suffered a miscarriage. She was about 2.5 months pregnant when Jake unexpectedly died from a heart attack. Despite receiving a lot of support from family and friends, both financially and emotionally, the stress caused Lucy to miscarriage shortly before her 2nd trimester. So now, she's grieving both the loss of her husband and her baby. Last night, Lucy's sister Amy confided in me that Lucy might ask my husband to be a sperm donor. I was completely taken aback. Amy explained that Lucy wants to have a child to remember Jake by. For context, Jake was an only child, and my husband was the closest thing he had to a brother. I gently suggested that perhaps Lucy could ask one of Jake's male cousins, but Amy explained that none of them were particularly close with the couple, and that my husband is the closest person to Jake in Lucy's eyes. Lucy hasn't approached me about this yet, nor have I spoken to my husband, but the idea makes me deeply uncomfortable. I can understand if they were actual brothers and shared DNA, but they aren't. Would I be the arsehole if I refused? Leaks G says, not the arsehole. Tell your husband and let him know the answer should be no. Don't put all of that on a child. It's not a baby's responsibility to fix that woman. Successful says, yep, and that's a very uncomfortable emotional attachment that both you and your husband are signing up for indefinitely. Do you guys want kids? What if you can't have them? Lucy is using your husband to work through her grief, and I fear that it will only cause resentment and issues in your own marriage. You need to speak to your husband about all of your thoughts and fears. Hopefully, he will prioritize you over a potential future child with Lucy. Because let's be honest, if your husband is a decent human being, he's going to want to be actively involved in that kid's life. Like, how could he not? That kid is biologically his and also doesn't have a real dad. So you need to have a frank conversation regarding parental roles, involvement, financial support, etc. Will Lucy tell the kid that he's the bio dad? The kid will figure it out once they can do math with their birth date and death date. There is so much to think and work through, but the first thing you need to do is talk to your husband and voice your opinion. Theory says, oh hell no. This is a hill worth dying on. Not the asshole for saying no way, no how. There are so many ways this can go bad for you and your marriage. Prize says, exactly. This is going to go down the whole sister-wife path and nothing good will come of it. 4 months after, she basically lost her whole family, and that poor widow shouldn't even be thinking about something like this. She obviously isn't anywhere close to coming to terms with her loss and is grasping desperately for anything to avoid having to go through the grieving process. And the husband needs to know his bestie's widow has designs on him, or theoretically, at least his sperm. He might not even agree to such a crazy request. I agree, 4 months is way too soon to be thinking about anything like this. A theoretical situation like this I can see being acceptable minimum 2 years after the loss. That's a significant enough time period for me where you can be like, yeah, they've done a lot of processing of their grief, they've talked to counselors, they've talked to family, they have gone through every other option here, and I'm still going to say no, but hey, at least they tried and they showed that they're willing to work through the grief, but it's still a no. No one should be taking this woman's request seriously. And if your husband takes her request seriously at all, that's a gigantic question mark above his head. The only thing she should be doing still at this point is processing her grief and getting more help. Because if she's asking a question like this, she has regressed. She has significantly regressed. And Opie comes back with an update and says, I confronted my husband and discovered that Lucy has been secretly finding comfort in him and Amy was just helping her test the waters. Nah, I'm just kidding, but the number of people assuming the worst about these two grieving people in their most vulnerable state is absolutely wild. Waking up to all these comments has been crazy too. Thank you to everyone who gave me thoughtful advice and helped open my eyes to the bigger implications. No, my husband did not sleep with Lucy. As I mentioned before, Jake and my husband were incredibly close, and sleeping with Lucy would be the ultimate betrayal. No, they did not comfort each other after Jake's death. I was the one comforting my husband, and Lucy received support from both her own family and Jake's family. No, I am not jealous of Lucy, nor did I talk shit about her behind her back. I didn't use the word fragile as an insult, like some of the comments suggested. It simply describes someone who is delicate, which is how she herself and everyone else around her has described her. Is it possible that Amy misunderstood or that Lucy mentioned this idea without actually intending to follow through? Absolutely. I've acknowledged that several times in the comments. Why Amy told me this, I can't say. That's between Lucy and Amy. As for Lucy's miscarriage, could it have been caused by something other than stress? Definitely. I'm not a doctor, and I only said stress was the cause because that's what we've been told. Now that I've finished my little rant, here is the actual update. As I mentioned in the comment previously, I plan to talk to my husband before bed, as that's when we usually discuss any unresolved issues, make up, and then go to sleep. I started by telling him about my day, then brought up what Amy had told me about Lucy's potential request. My husband, bless his heart, made the funniest face, like he'd just seen a unicorn leap over our bed. He immediately reassured me that there is absolutely no way in hell, his words not mine, that he would ever do that to me, to our marriage, or to Jake. Just as Lucy views him as Jake's brother, he also sees Jake as his brother, and Lucy as his sister-in-law. The idea of having a child, whether naturally or clinically with an in-law, felt borderline incestuous to him, and made him extremely uncomfortable. We had a good laugh about it, and since Lucy hasn't mentioned anything to either of us, we've decided to let it rest. We're not going to be the ones to bring it up, so I think it's pretty clear that the both of us will be saying no if it ever comes to that. I'll give one last update if Lucy approaches us, but if there's no further update, that means the situation is resolved. Once again, thank you for all that decided to give me an advice. All's well that ends well. Thank God the husband has a head on his shoulders. That's more that you can say about a lot of people that have stories written about them here. And it feels weird to praise someone for doing the bare minimum in situations like this, like not being insane. But sanity is hard to come across in the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. But what do you guys think about this one? Let me know down in the comments below. Let's go to the next story though. Posted by user It's a Throwaway, titled, Wife, 38 female, is convinced that she is pregnant even though that every pregnancy test, store-bought and medical, comes back negative. It's taking a toll on our marriage because she thinks that I'm going to abandon her and our twins. This is all over the place. I really need help. My wife and I, male 42, have been married for 2 years, together for 15. All this time, we had either not decided to have kids or had problems getting pregnant. After some medical testing, we found out that it was near impossible to get pregnant due to some medical issues with her. We were thinking of adopting when one day she came home and told me she was expecting. Of course, I was super happy. A week later, we had an appointment at the gyno and she had some blood drawn. The test came back negative, and of course, I was devastated, but she wasn't. She claimed that she was pregnant and that the doctor was wrong. We took some more store-bought ones, and they all came back negative too. My wife is in complete denial. Now she claims that we are having twins. She's buying them clothes and decorations, and is pressuring me to start with the nursery. I'm at a loss, and I don't know what to do. My inaction is making her believe that I want to leave them, and that I'm going to doom my wife into the life of a single mom. What the hell is even happening? I love her, but I don't know what to do. Deleted says, call the doctor who did the pregnancy tests and leave a message with the emergency number. They will be able to tell you who to contact. She's obviously had some sort of a mental break. Just an FYI, at 19 weeks, you would have had ultrasound pictures and gender determination, and she would have had several OB/GYN visits. Is she doing practical things like taking prenatal vitamins and reading books, or is it all delusional and talk? Just wondering how far she's taking this scenario. OP says, I know. Also, she isn't showing at all. She is thin as always. Yes, she says that she can't lift heavy things, says she has pregnancy cravings, she buys clothes for the twins, and she's even planning to take paid time off work from when the babies are here. Deleted replies, this is really frightening. Like those stories of people taking babies from a pregnant woman. You need to get her help ASAP. Was she all of a sudden 19 weeks? Or has this been going on for a while? What spurred her into thinking that she was initially pregnant? Have you seen her have her period in this time so you can point out the obvious? OP says, she claimed she was pregnant about a few weeks ago, but as of Friday, she says she entered her 19th week. I really don't know what brought her to think that. Social Pizza says, oh dude, she's going through something very, very serious. You need to contact a therapist. Like turn off Reddit right now and contact one. She's having delusional thoughts. Her preoccupation with pregnancy and her sadness have overcome her. This is way beyond Reddit's pay grade. Good luck. OP replies, I've tried talking her into therapy, and she shuts down 100% and accuses me of gaslighting her. Back up to the post, we have a little edit/update. Thank you guys. You really helped me out. Yesterday was a bad day, and you helped me get clarity. I've had a chat with our doctor who will now be handling this with us. I would like to thank most of you with useful advice, and hopefully I'll be able to update good news someday. But screw you to those that said that I should divorce her because she is crazy, and an extra screw you to the guy that used this post to push an anti-abortion agenda. Hard to convince her that you're not going to abandon the marriage because of the twins, but people that are this deep in the delusion, I think they need a lot of support if you want to help them get back out of it, which it sounds like you do want to do. But I think that you have to be realistic and think, is this going to be a crabs in a bucket scenario? If it comes to that point, how long can you realistically support someone spiraling that deep into delusion without them showing obvious signs that, what they are experiencing is not reality? And what if that paranoia and delusion leads to them leaving you? I think there's a lot of ways this can go, and I don't know if people were necessarily saying that OP should leave her, but it's a possibility that you need to be prepared for, because a lot of the times I feel like it's out of your hands when people get that deep in delusion. You'd be setting yourself on fire to keep them warm, but they'd be running away from that fire because they're like, no, I don't want it. I don't want that. It's a fake fire. The fire's not real. And now onto the update. So I called up our primary doctor and told him about the problem. He seemed very concerned and wanted us to come see him the next morning. He said that it was important to be gentle, but not feed into her delusions. I sat her down and we talked. All she wanted to talk about is when I would get the nursery started and that we were on a time crunch, and how she has found a perfect color for the room, how she wants me to be more involved in her pregnancy. I tried to be very calm, but I was very perturbed by seeing her that way. I asked her to go to the doctor with me tomorrow. She said yes, that she wanted to check on the babies either way. I took some advice and words that you gave to me about being calm and asking a bit about why she thinks that she is pregnant without calling her delusional. So I did. She kept changing subjects or saying that a mother just feels it. You wouldn't know how it is. Then I said that I loved her so much, that I would never think of leaving her, but we needed to go to the doctor to confirm her gut feeling. She got very agitated and was crying, telling me that if I wanted to leave her, I should simply leave, but I shouldn't call her a liar. Somehow I managed to calm her down enough for her to go to sleep. After she did, I went on her computer. I never snoop on her, but I remembered a commenter pointing out forums about cryptic pregnancy, and so I went for the lookouts. Oh boy. She was in 2 Facebook groups. One was a normal mummy Facebook group, and the other was a group about women that believed they were pregnant. In the normal group, she would post updates about her symptoms and pictures of her belly, quote-unquote, and her story about how she was almost not able to have children, but thanks to the grace of God that kissed her tummy, the gift of life was given to her, and how she was compensated for all of these years of suffering with twins. In the other group, the women were quite literally, and excuse me here, effing insane. They were feeding into each other's delusions. A woman said that she was almost 2 years pregnant and how sometimes it just takes longer. My wife would post there complaining about doctors that do not take her seriously and about me. So many women were making her fear that I would leave, saying things like men cannot stick to a woman. Many recounted their stories about how their marriages broke down because their spouses could not handle the pregnancy. I was really effing scared. I researched phantom pregnancies, and I read somewhere that they could also be a sign of schizophrenia. So to say the least, I could not sleep. I was, and still am, very afraid of losing her. She woke up and I tried to act like nothing was wrong. We were going to the doctor, and it was as if nothing had happened yesterday. She was convinced that we were going to a pregnancy checkup. Things got really bad when we began talking to the doctor. He was really tactful when talking to my wife. He tried to explain to her that it was medically impossible that she was pregnant. We tried to show her tests, the ultrasound we did the day before, but nothing. She got more agitated and began to cry and scream at me for making her look like a crazy person. She began bouncing back and forth and holding her head with both hands. We could not calm her. She went into a full-on panic attack. She could not breathe. The doctor laid her down and tried giving her some medicine for her to relax, But it didn't help as he didn't have the necessary tools to treat a panic attack that was that bad. She had to go to the hospital where they took care of her, did an EKG to exclude that she was suffering a heart attack. At that point, I really had no other option than to inquire about involuntary commit, so I could not do it myself. I needed my doctor's statement that she was a danger to herself and others, and he had to initiate the process of an involuntary examination of 72 hours. After that, we will have to submit a written statement to the court to determine whether or not she can stay there against her will. So far, I have submitted all of her posts in both Facebook groups, as well as the test we did with timestamps when possible. My wife is 2 days into the 3-day examination, and I have no contact with her. When I last saw her, she was furious with me. She said that I was taking away her freedom, which I am. I feel horrible, dirty, and useless. She is so mad at me. I feel like I'm abandoning her, and I don't know how she will ever forgive me for this. I love her with all my heart. I'm afraid of what will happen if the courts decide that I can't commit her, how our life will be affected. I feel like I failed to protect her. At this point, I'm just rambling. Sorry for the long post. I guess I just needed to vent because I have no one else to really turn to that just wants to listen. I feel judged by everyone and pitied. I just hate it. Sorry for the spelling mistakes. Edit. I will not effing leave my wife, you unempathetic dickheads. When I gave my vows, I meant through illness and bad times. I am not only on the ride for the good times. If you truly love someone, you will do whatever it takes to see them healthy again. Would you leave your spouse if they went through a severe physical illness? I'm here to stay. I will not divorce her. She is not an effing psycho. She is sick. I hope no one of your loved ones has ever had to go through this because their support net will consist of cowardly dickheads. Sorry for the rant, but if you want to say something along the lines of divorce that nut, don't even bother. I understand people that make that choice to leave if the situation begins to mess with their mental health, and I respect that, but I won't do that. Edit 2. My wife didn't have a heart attack. She was examined because panic attacks register with similar symptoms as heart attacks. I don't know exactly what our doctor gave her, as I was so distraught, but it was not a sedative. I think it was something along the lines of Valium or Baldrian. Over-the-counter stuff, mostly. She has family. She is estranged from most of them. Her sister is now at our place to help. Also, refrain from such stupid comments like, I bet she will leave, bro. She's cray, how did you marry her? Because they're not helpful at all, especially the bets that are going on that my wife will leave me once she gets better. Just seems like you want me to divorce. Get a life. Deleted says, I used to work in the involuntary commitment system. Everyone is upset with their loved ones when they get committed. Everyone. And it's a normal thing for family members and partners to feel a ton of guilt, but your wife needs help, and you took the steps to get her that help even though it was scary. You will not regret this. Hoping says, I had to involuntarily commit my husband. He has PTSD, and I got a phone call at work 40 minutes away in a different country that he loved me and that I shouldn't feel bad. I had to call 911 bawling my eyes out, knowing he was having a bad week, and then call the emergency line for the county he was in. They connected to the nearest one. When the police broke the door down, he was in the bathroom. He hid the razor before he came out. He was so mad at me. He hated me. He wanted a divorce. He never wanted to see me again. And to be honest, I was pretty angry too, not because of his mental illness, but because I felt so helpless. I want to say after a week of the adjusted meds, he called apologizing. He told me how thankful he was that I had called. He was thankful that I didn't budge on him being committed. He was thankful that he had someone who knew him well enough to know that he wasn't manipulating me. He had been pushing me away, which is a sign of being suicidal, and we had been fighting a lot because of it. You did the right thing, OP. You definitely have done the right thing for her well-being, no matter how angry she is now. She'll see it one day. Queen Moogle says, Dude, what you did is so incredibly effing hard, but it was the right decision. You tried everything. Doctors, kindness, everything. This is not a normal don't snoop in your partner's stuff circumstance. Your wife is having an actual legitimate health crisis. She cannot act in her own best interest right now, but god damn it, you can and you did. It may take a long-ass time for the both of you to see it completely, but she needed immediate and intensive psychiatric treatment. And everything Marcia says, yup, we are so proud of you, OP, for doing something so hard for your wife. She may resent you now, but when she gets better, she'll understand. She cannot comprehend that what you are doing is saving her. We are all rooting for you and your wife's recovery. Hang in there. And now, onto the final updates. Hi guys, it's me again. We have a lot of time on our hands, so I thought why not update the community that helped me, even if it was just to let me know that I could vent. I don't even know how much time has passed, but I'm very happy to say that things are working out. I have my wife's permission to share this with you all, and she's even telling me to greet you. After being in the 72-hour stay, it was determined that she had to stay there. My wife was pissed for the first few weeks. It was a devastating time, but time and therapy heal all wounds. Slowly, I was allowed to come visit, and every day I went, I saw a bit more of the person I loved. There were setbacks along the way, and I had to watch a lot of what I said and did. For example, the first few weeks she wouldn't tolerate touch or something like that. Our trust had to be regained slowly, from both parts. We put so much work in, and even now that she's back home, and has been for a while, we sometimes have bad days where it's difficult for my wife to get out of bed, or where I'm suspicious of her getting back into that state. But at the end of the day, I am happy. We go to counseling together, and we are on individual therapy as well, especially because due to the stress, I developed a form of anxiety. But every day is a bit better. I've discovered new sides of my wife, like the new hobby that she has of making resin jewelry and decorations. Even our quarantine time has been quite peaceful. We still have remote therapy and everything. Things are not normal yet, and adoption is not back on the table as of now. We have given ourselves at least a year of therapy before we think about parenting and raising a child. One thing is for certain, I am still in love with my wife, and I still love her so much. Our relationship might not be better than ever, but it sure as hell is stronger than ever. Also, she's done a lot of self-reflection, and of course has thanked me for how I handled things. She is lovely, and we are happy. Woodit asks, did you ever get a definitive cause from the doctors? This seems so surreal. I've never heard of it before. And OP replies, not a definitive cause, but the trigger at least. 7 Orange Files says, this is wonderful news. I remember your story. It was terrifying. Full marks for supporting her. Sick and Tired says, good on you for helping your wife get the help that she needs. That was a terrible experience, but you really stepped up. Even if things aren't perfect, you both came a long way. I'm so happy for you. Minoc33 says, good to hear that things are looking up, and you won't be considering adopting in the near future. Matter of fact, might be a good time to use some of those therapy sessions to start preparing yourselves for the likely possibility that you won't ever be able to adopt. Agencies have to say that an applicant's mental history isn't an automatic deal killer, but in reality, it often is. They simply can't risk adopting out children to people suffering from such extreme mental illness that involuntary stays were required. It's all but a guarantee that they'd never allow children to be placed under your wife's care. Your mental health history is part of the background check, and red flags like involuntary holds will often exclude you from adopting. They'll still have to go through the whole process and pretend like you have a chance, but reality is you probably won't be eligible. They just can't risk putting children in the care of people with a history of mental illness. And if and when that time comes, as this story was posted a while ago, I do hope that OP is able to, get through that stormy weather as gracefully as he did this mental health incident. I understand where OP was coming from, yelling at people saying, you are all disgusting, giving up on your partners like that. I couldn't imagine doing that to my loving wife of 15 years. You're all animals for saying that. I had wedding vows. And it's like, yeah, I get that, but a lot of these people are talking from experience, OP. I get that you're emotional. I get that you're upset. I get that you're going through hell right now. But people wouldn't be saying that if they hadn't experienced things themselves where they had to cut ties and move on from a partner that was putting their own mental and physical well-being in danger. And I think OP needs to be even more prepared for when adoption agencies say no to them adopting a child, because I feel like that's going to be yet another mental breakdown that OP has to deal with. There's only so much that a person can take before they break, and is OP going to have their own mental breakdown from having to deal with their wife's instability? Like, you put yourself through so much that you have to give yourself the ability to walk away before you crack. Anyway, that's my rant. What do you guys think? Am I wrong? Let me know in the comments down below. Am I the asshole here for telling my wife that my life would be better without her? My wife Anne and I have been married for 13 years. I am 43 and she is 46. We do not have children. When we first began dating, nobody could make me happy like Anne. She always seemed to know exactly the right thing to say when I was down. But over the past decade or so, she's really started to show her true colors, and a lot of what her ex-husband said to me about her has begun to make more sense. For example, I have a very high-stress job. People bring me problems, and I fix those problems. But when I get home, 9 times out of 10, Anne just has more problems to throw onto my plate. She doesn't work, so she's free to do anything she wants to solve said problems during the day, but lately she's even begun making lists of things that she wants me to do after I work all day. But my biggest issue with Anne is that I can't ever really open up to her about anything. Whenever I talk about something bad that happened to me, she'll either try to one-up me or agree with the person who wronged me. Last Friday, I had a horrible day. There was an enormous problem at work, and basically all fell on my shoulders to solve. When I was crossing the street after work, I had a green signal and a bicycle blew through a red and side-clipped me. The cyclist yelled expletives at me and then rode away. I thought about calling the police because it was technically a hit and run, but there was probably nothing they could do. When I got home, desperate, I talked to Anne about what happened. She listened and then immediately took the cyclist's side. I reiterated that the cyclist ran through a red light, to which she responded that cyclists aren't obligated to stop. When I told her that she was wrong and tried to put the issue to rest, she began frantically Googling laws. She found that in our state, they can treat lights like a stop sign. She began triumphantly reading the law to me loudly, word for word, getting louder when I kept trying to tell her that I wasn't interested. At the end of her spiel, she gave me this incredibly arrogant look as if she was right. I just stared at her for a second and said that my life would be better without her. She got incredibly upset, shrieked at me until her voice was hoarse, and then packed a bag and left to stay with her parents. She has texted me all weekend demanding an apology, but I haven't responded. Did I do something unforgivable here? It's so funny to me because in situations like this, they're always like, actually, my relationship is perfect besides this one glaring issue. And then there's always like 10 more things that are not perfect. And they're like, how dare you say I leave my wife? Because she's actually perfect in every other way. Oh, besides the fact that we haven't had sex in 2 months as well, you know? Anyway, this is exactly that. OP, it's okay to leave people like this. If they've snowballed their shit behavior and not changed and just become, a debate lord with you, not, honey, how can I help you feel better? I love you and I'm going to support my partner. No, how can I one-up you? How can I win this debate? And the fact that the cyclist shouldn't have hit you in the first place, because if it was treated as a stop sign, you'd logically think they would stop and not just keep going. That would have never happened, but no, I have to win this debate because I'm a piece of shit. Oh my god, your wife is filling me with rage. I want to divorce her myself, and I don't even know her. I don't even know the point that she was trying to make. She's just a monumental see you next Tuesday. And then to have the gall to say that you need to apologize to her. What is her problem? She deserved everything you said to her. Screw her. The only person I'd be apologizing to is the lawyer for taking so long to actually get in contact with them for a divorce. E There Alone says, wait, if the cyclist is supposed to treat it like a stop sign, then shouldn't it stop and yield to oncoming traffic, i.e. you, who has a green light? So she's wrong and is still triumphantly claiming victory. Personally, I think you could have elaborated a little bit on how she sucks the life out of you. But that's just me being petty. I hope the best for you. Came here to say this. Like, she's not even right. Why is she on a high horse? Camp Crustaceans replies, And even if she was right, where is your sympathy and compassion for your life partner? Like, damn, she seems to get off on treating you like shit. That is not love. You will find it one day after you leave this horrible person. Sweet Fancy Moses says, she is the opposite of everything a good and understanding partner should be. She began triumphantly reading the law to me loudly, word for word, getting louder when I kept trying to tell her that I wasn't interested. She's more interested in proving him wrong and taking the cyclist side than just being there for OP. Fake and Funk says, sounds like problem solved actually. You said what needed saying, and she left. Done and done. Do you need help on the first steps for contacting a lawyer or something? Because otherwise, it sounds like you got her out of your house with minimal effort. And now on to the update. 2 weeks ago, I had an argument with my wife, Anne. This argument stemmed from Anne's incessant need to contradict me and everything I say. Anne left in a fit of rage to stay with her parents, and then kept spamming me with texts demanding an apology. A few days after Anne left, I felt something that I hadn't in a long time at home. Peace. I didn't have someone nagging me about literally everything I did. I didn't have to eat my meals in the correct order. Something about pH balance that she probably saw from some brain rot creator on TikTok. I didn't have to wash my feet after getting home. I could actually enjoy myself, which is impossible when Anne is around, because I found many years ago that she tends to get the most aggressive when I seem like I'm either in a very good or very bad mood. I then did something that I never thought I'd do. I reached out to her ex. He was more than eager to talk about Anne and her shenanigans, so we met up for drinks. He and I both had near identical experiences with her. Anne is, through and through, a pretty horrible person, especially to her romantic partners. He cited irreconcilable differences for divorcing her, where it was no specific event, but just a long list of terrible interactions and coming to the realization that he detested her as a person. During this time, Anne went silent on me. I used this lull in our relationship to visit a lawyer who told me that due to the nature of laws in our state and the fact that Anne is able-bodied and educated, the chances of me ever having to pay alimony are basically zero. I called Anne at this point. She, for some reason, still expected an apology. I told her that I wanted a divorce. She threatened to take everything from me. I said she could try, but any further contact should be done through my lawyer. I'm fully happy to split our assets fairly. I'm fairly sure that Anne will agree to any deal that gives her more than half. It's just the way that she is. And if it's a 55-45 split, I don't care. All I have to do is act like she's got the better of me, and since she's an idiot, she'll happily agree. Thanks to everyone who responded in the last post with advice. Tons of you suggested divorce, which I think was actually what got me to consider it seriously. CCC Monster says, my advice is to not spend attorney fees fighting over furniture. This is an easy one to let them win on, because the price of attorney fees piling up over furniture doesn't make sense when you can easily buy top-of-the-line replacement furniture for what you're wasting on fees. Cyberkuzo says, yes, but pretend you are really in love with certain pieces of furniture. Have your lawyer say, under no circumstances is Anne to get the kitchen table. She'll feel like she's won when you cave on it. Dryaduant says, I know this is so far from the point, but your spouse feeling like they can tell you that you're eating wrong because pH or because whatever is just, no. My food is for me. You eat what you want. I'm a Red Trenchcoat says, I'm just surprised that people haven't learned how to shut stuff down like that early in a relationship. Incidentally, I recently learned about the 3 types of yeses. 1. The yes that shows you're paying attention. 2. The yes to get you to shut up so we can all move along with our day. And 3. An actual yes, where you are fully on board with whatever has been said. Too many people throw around the second yes, especially early on in a relationship, and before they know it, their default is just to oblige to maintain their daily routine. Not to blame OP in this situation, but it's just a reminder to set boundaries and maintain those boundaries in a relationship, especially when that partner has a history of pushing boundaries and being abusive. I feel like OP could have saved themselves many years of relationship stress if they had just maintained the boundaries and then broken up with that woman much earlier before it had to come to this point. Just being able to clearly identify and maintain those boundaries can save people a lot of time with shit partners. I feel like that's all I have to say on that one, and thank God OP is out of there. With no kids as well, by the sounds of it, thank God, no kids. Oh my God, that's another at least 5 years if they had kids at the start of the relationship that he'd be tied to her for. Thank you for sharing the story, OP. Very much appreciated. But what do you guys reckon? Was OP too harsh? Was Anne in the right here? Was the cyclist just doing the right thing? I want to know in the comments. Anyway, let's go to our next story.